Zenos was born in a poor neighborhood and was deprived of many opportunities. Later, he became a doctor and joined an adventurers team, but they kicked him out because he was too weak. That's when Zenos decided to rely on his own strength and eventually became the most powerful mage and healer in the world. Our story begins with that Millennium girl named Leela, who woke up and prepared breakfast with that charming person named Zenos. Leela tells us that healers are ranked in 3 levels. Third-level healers can only treat wounds, second-level ones can completely heal a person, and first-level healers are those capable of transforming the world into a better place. This is the kingdom of Herzaith, a land whose history has long been tied to healers. They helped expand it and granted it great prestige. Many healers gather at the Royal Hospital in the city to learn advanced magic and receive their licenses to begin their journey as official healers. However, the man before you, Zenos, does not hold a license to practice healing. Still, he is incredibly skilled. He works as a healer, and after helping someone, the man thanks him and pays him for what he was able to do. Leela congratulates Zenos on becoming so talented. People now come to him from all over to be treated by his extraordinary powers. Zenos sets off on a new adventure while Leela prepares food for when he returns. She is extremely talented at cooking, like a professional chef. Then comes Carmilla, the girl with beautiful eyes and very long hair, who tells Leela, "I'm going to my room and will wait for dinner when you've prepared it." At that moment, Zofia also arrives, waiting for Zenos to return. Everyone is gathering, coming to see Mr. Zenos. Even the cat girl. It seems Zenos is quite the popular man. So far, 4 girls are waiting for him. We don't know what he'll do for them yet. Leela finishes making the food and steps out to change her clothes since they are all going to eat together. The girls begin tasting the food and find it delicious. One of them says, "Wait until Leela gets here or she'll get mad and hit you. We must eat together." Meanwhile, Leela is outside washing clothes in the garden, enjoying the beautiful weather. She then takes a short rest. But inside, the great disaster occurs. The girls kept tasting the food until they finished it completely. There was no food left. They all start panicking, wondering what to do now, as there aren't enough ingredients to make another meal. Then Leela walks in and says, "What's the matter, girls? Why are you all standing there like that?" Slowly, they begin telling her that the smell was so good, they just wanted a taste. And then everyone kept tasting it until it was all gone. Leela replies, "It's okay, but we don't have enough ingredients now to cook another dinner." And they all apologize to her. Leela asked the girls to bring her more ingredients. Linga quickly offered to go get them right away, but Zofia interrupted her, insisting that she should be the one to do it and that she would bring the best ingredients. Then Loyu cut in, saying that she could carry any amount needed. Carmilla then spoke to Leila, saying she thought Leila should have been angrier. Leila responded that she wasn't that mad, because she was an adult and liked seeing everyone gathered together. She then thought to herself that she might still be able to finish making dinner before Zenos returned. Meanwhile, we see Zenos walking down the street when he notices a girl named Teal walking tiredly. A hoardy man approaches her. He is her master. He asked her where she had been and what she was doing. She told him her stomach had been hurting, so she went to the hospital, but since she didn't have any money, they refused to treat her. The man hit her, angry that she thought mere pain was enough to earn her any sort of mercy. After all, she was just a slave. He threw her to the ground and ordered her to return to work. He then dragged her to a place filled with graves and tossed her down beside one of them. A dark shadow emerged from the grave and entered her body. He struck her again, demanding she get up and find him something valuable, promising to return before her and saying he would feed her today if she proved worthy. Suddenly, Teal stood up, now transformed into a ghostly figure, and landed a powerful blow to his stomach. Terrified, the man ran off. He bumped into Zenos and told him that his slave had gone crazy and was attacking him. He begged for Zenos' help. Zenos asked what kind of work they were doing. The man hesitated, then claimed they were only doing farming. He then offered to pay Zenos to do something to her. Teal approached, ready to attack the man again, but Zenos stepped between them and asked her why she was so enraged. She didn't answer, instead launching another attack at him. However, she couldn't harm him. The man yelled at Zenos to kill her, but he refused, saying that killing wasn't his job. The man grew angry, declaring that he was a noble and she was just a slave. He could always buy another. Zenos apologized, saying he tries to save any life he can. At that moment, Teal lunged at him again. Though Zenos blocked her attacks, she was incredibly fast, faster than any normal demi-human. She dashed toward Zenos, trying to strike his face, but he raised a large mana shield that repelled her, sending her flying into a nearby building, which exploded from the impact. Half the building collapsed onto her master. Zenos walked over to the fallen Teal, telling her that he would help remove whatever was possessing her, so she needed to calm down. The shadow exited her body before Zenos could even begin. He promised her that he would help her. He used healing magic and began to treat her wounds. As he healed her, Teal lost consciousness. Zenos, however, was left wondering what kind of farming work exposes someone to spiritual possession. The man was astonished when he saw Zenos heal Teal's broken leg in an instant. He realized Zenos was extremely powerful and begged him for help. Zenos replied, "My work hours are over for today. I might come back tomorrow, but if you really want help now, it'll cost you a lot." The man handed him some money, but Zenos didn't seem impressed. The man protested, "That's already higher than market price. Do you think a healer should extort people with outrageous fees?" Zenos calmly replied, "I am an unlicensed healer working in the shadows. It's a job from the criminal world, like grave robbing." The man threw his hands up and said, "Fine, take her, do whatever you want." Zenos took the contract from him, bought Teal, and accepted the payment. The scene shifts. Teal wakes up, and Zenos tells her that he bought her and wants to explain what he did. He found a gallstone blocking her bile duct and causing inflammation. "I noticed you were bending over like you had stomach pain, and your skin had a yellowish tint. That caught my interest, so I followed you." He continued, "I opened your abdomen, removed the stone, and closed it back up." Teal thanked him sincerely for saving her. Zenos told her he expected equal value in return. "You'll start working right away." She responded, "I'll do anything you ask. I'll repay you as your slave." Zenos then asked her about something in a book and said he needed her help researching it. They went into the forest, and she handed him some documents she found, saying, "I still owe you." He told her, "I always pay a fair price for the work I request, and I expect the same in return. You found these papers. I wouldn't have been able to find them alone. Their value is equal to what I did for you. Your debt is paid. You can go wherever you want now." Then he tore up the ownership contract. Teal said to him, "The place I want to go now is, well, since I'm no longer a slave, I'll live to find that place. When I discover it, I'll come back and tell you." She asked, "Will I see you again?" Zenos replied, "Yes. Come find me. Whenever you're hurt, I'll be there to treat you." As a healer in the shadows, the scene shifts back to the house. The girls were preparing dinner, and Zenos asked what they were doing. They quickly told him that Linga hadn't done anything wrong and that she hadn't eaten anything. Linga explained that they brought a lot of ingredients, so she decided to cook. And with that, today's episode of this anime comes to an end. Stay tuned for the next episodes. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any updates. A young boy cast out from his party embarks on a journey to become the world's greatest adventurer. Unbeknownst to him, fate has granted him hidden powers, ones he discovers purely by chance. What thrilling adventures await Core? Stay tuned to find out. The anime kicks off with the appearance of a monstrous Fenrir, an S-strength beast capable of wiping out an entire city on its own. This terrifying creature has been attacking a village daily, leaving the people desperate. Having spent all their savings, they hired the renowned adventurer party, Blazing Dragon Fang, to put an end to the beast. One fateful day, as the party lay in wait, the Fenrir finally emerged. It lunged at them, forcing them into an intense battle. Despite their best efforts, the beast proved overwhelmingly powerful. They managed to restrain it momentarily, binding its jaws shut. Seizing the opportunity, the fiery-haired warrior Jolanova soared through the air with his blazing sword and struck the monster with a devastating blow. At last, the beast was defeated, and the village erupted in joyous celebration. Meanwhile, a boy named Core, though part of the party played only a supporting role, unlike his comrades, he lacked the strength to fight. And yet, this very boy was destined to become the hero of this tale, embarking on a journey to save the world. The following morning, the party gathered for a meal. Jolanova, after eating part of his food, carelessly tossed the rest onto the ground. A rude and disrespectful act. Without hesitation, Core rushed to clean it up. Annoyed, Jolanova ordered him to fetch more food. However, the group suddenly turned against Core. "Today is the last meal you're making for us," they declared. Core blinked in confusion. "What do you mean?" Jolanova smirked. "Are you really that dense? You're out. You're no longer part of this party." Shocked, Core stammered, "Why? Did I do something wrong?" Jolanova scoffed. "You're nothing but dead weight. You can't even take down a slime." The blonde-haired mage Marlevis chimed in coldly. "The party only allows 4 members. If we want to get stronger, we need to recruit a high-ranking mage. That means we have to get rid of someone, and let's face it, you're the weakest link." Desperate, Core pleaded with them to reconsider, but Jolanova silenced him with a brutal punch to the stomach. "Shut up, idiot! There's no place for you here anymore." Alone, and without direction, Core set off on a journey with no destination in mind. A week later, he arrived in a bustling city, standing before a place called Hallowwork. Nervous yet determined, he stepped inside, seeking employment. At the reception desk, a young woman greeted him with a warm smile. "Welcome to Smila Street, sir. How can I help you?" Kor took a deep breath. I'm looking for a job. She nodded and handed him an application form. Let's start with an interview. As she began asking questions, he answered honestly. My name is Kor. I'm 15 years old from the village of Hast in Mount Shin. I used to do various menial tasks for the adventurer party Blazing Dragon Fang, a party that recently ranked up to SS rank, but unfortunately they kicked me out. The receptionist smiled reassuringly. Don't mention that part. Saying you were part of Blazing Dragon Fang will actually boost your resume. People will see you in a more positive light. She then moved on to the next step. Now let's test your aptitude. This refers to the natural talents you were granted at birth. Some people have incredible gifts, while others, well, don't. Aptitudes range from G, meaning no talent whatsoever, all the way to SSS rank, the absolute peak. For example, someone with a low swordsmanship aptitude might struggle to cut through wood, while a high-ranked swordsman can slice through steel with ease. After evaluating Kor, the receptionist frowned. You're G rank. Kor's heart sank. So, I have no talent at all? She sighed. I'm really sorry, but this limits the jobs you can take. Crushed, Kor felt hopeless. Wait, she added quickly. We haven't tested you for non-combat skills yet. Blacksmithing, alchemy, there are still options. Really? Kor's eyes lit up. Yes, but our specialist, Vienna, is currently away. He handles these evaluations, so you'll have to wait about a week. Kor's excitement faded. A week? I barely have any money left. How am I supposed to survive until then? She thought for a moment. How about this? See that sandbag over there? Try lifting it. Kor nodded and approached the bag. The moment he grabbed it, he realized it was heavy. He struggled, barely managing to shift it. The receptionist smiled. That's enough. I know that bag is incredibly heavy, and the fact that you moved it means you're strong enough for construction work. There's a border city in Tycoon Province recruiting workers to repair their walls. If you're interested, I can write you a recommendation letter. Kor straightened up. I'll take it. She prepared the letter, handed it to him, and wished him luck. Arrival at the border city. Upon reaching the city, Kor presented his recommendation to the foreman. The man eyed him skeptically. Kor was scrawny, hardly the image of a strong laborer, but after a moment the foreman sighed. We're desperate for workers. We don't have the luxury of being picky. Fine, you're in. He handed Kor his first task, mixing cement and applying it to the walls. Listen up, the foreman warned. I'll be back in 3 hours to check your work. Don't mess this up. You need to use at least half a barrel of cement by then. Your pay depends on performance, so if you slack off, you'll be losing money. Kor nodded, determined. As he worked, an idea struck him. What if I infuse mana into the cement? If he could strengthen it, the walls would be even sturdier. Kor put all his effort into the job, even though half a barrel barely covered anything. 3 hours later, the foreman returned, his eyes widened in shock. Kor had already covered a massive section of the wall. Kor apologized, explaining that he had run out of cement and that this was all he could accomplish. The foreman was stunned. Wait, you repaired a third of the massive western wall in just 3 hours? He eyed the area suspiciously. How did you even reach the upper sections? I don't see any scaffolding or ladders. Kor simply replied, I gathered the cement, threw it up there and rolled it into place using this stick. The foreman was speechless. How long do you plan on working here? Kor hesitated. I was hoping for about a week. The foreman sighed, rubbing his forehead. You've done enough for today, go get some rest. He handed Kor a partial payment, promising to transfer the rest through Hallow work later. Kor's eyes widened. He had been paid a lot. Overjoyed, he vowed to work even harder the next day. The next morning, Kor returned, finishing the remaining sections of the wall with the same insane speed. The other workers were left in shock. 3 days ago, barely a fraction of the western wall was done, and now it's finished? What kind of monster is this kid? The foreman called Kor over. Listen, he said with a serious expression. I can't let you keep working here. Kor's heart sank. What? But why? This project was supposed to provide work for the poor, the foreman explained. If you stay, there won't be any work left for them. The skill you've displayed is on the level of an SS rank. You need to move on to bigger things. Before Kor could protest, the foreman shoved the rest of his pay into his hands. Go, head to the royal capital. That's where you belong. It was clear he was being kicked out because he was too good. Disheartened, Kor returned to Hallow work and told Kreishel what had happened. She listened thoughtfully. Vienna will arrive in 3 days, but what will you do until then? At that moment, they overheard a conversation at the reception desk. You won't find anyone willing to take a job with conditions like that, one of the receptionists told a female adventurer. Curious, Kreishel approached. What's going on? Her colleague explained, this adventurer needs to hire a miner, but she insists on paying only based on successful results, no upfront payment, and the mine is completely unexplored. Reijou frowned. That's a tough sell. Maybe I can recommend investors instead. The adventurer shook her head. That won't help. If I don't pay the required taxes within a week, the government will seize my mountain. Kor, who had been listening, immediately stepped forward. I'll take the job. Everyone turned to look at him. Kor continued, back in my village, I used to help out in the mines. I know what I'm doing. Reijou frowned. Kor, you do realize there's no guaranteed pay, right? Before he could answer, the adventurer scoffed. I need someone strong. A burly dwarf would be ideal, not some scrawny kid who looks like he'd snap in half. Kor stood his ground. I have experience. Just give me a chance. The adventurer studied him for a moment, then sighed. Fine. You're coming with me. Meanwhile, shortly after Kor left, the payment from his construction job was deposited. Reijou picked up the paperwork and froze. 200 gold coins? Her hands trembled. This is what he earned in 2 days? As she tried to process the absurd amount, she noticed something on the floor, several of the sandbags used in the strength test. Her colleague reassured her, oh, don't worry about those, we'll put them away. But, Reijou shook her head, these weren't sandbags. Her co-worker raised an eyebrow. Huh? Reijou took a deep breath. These are mana measuring weights. Wait, what? They get heavier based on the amount of mana a person possesses. Normal people can't even activate them. It takes someone with Royal Court mage-level mana just to trigger them. A stunned silence fell over the room. If Kor had been able to lift one, even slightly, then who exactly was he? The guild receptionist asks Kershiel if she can move these things outside. Kershiel agrees and tries to carry them, but they are too heavy for her. She then remembers how Court lifted them so easily. Later, we see Court and Ulyssia in the forest. Court asks her why there is only one tent. She replies that it's big enough for 2 people. Court, surprised, says that he can't share a tent with a woman as cute as her. Annoyed, Ulyssia snaps at him, telling him not to say another word. She insists that she has been an adventurer since she was 10 years old and could never be considered cute, demanding that he stop saying weird things. She then hands him some food. Court asks if she cooked it herself, to which Ulyssia replies that it barely counts as cooking, she just boiled it. Court smiles and tells her that it's been a long time since someone cooked for him, so he's really happy. In the morning, Court is seen sleeping outside all night. Ulyssia notices that he has repaired her clothes and thanks him. She tells him that they will leave when he is ready and that they need to earn 10 gold coins before the end of the week. Court asks if she has decided where to start digging. Ulyssia tells him they will begin digging somewhere nearby. Court warns her that if she digs randomly, she won't find any ore, so he decides to take a quick look around for something. He then finds a rock and breaks it, discovering many crystals inside. One of them alone should be worth 3 gold coins, shocking Ulyssia as they have already achieved a third of their goal. After examining many rocks in the area, they gather a large number of crystals. Ulyssia suggests selling them, but Court tells her that aside from the first one, the rest are too small to be worth much. Instead, he proposes turning them into magic crystals. At that moment, he transforms one into a magic crystal, stunning Ulyssia. She knows that there are fewer than 10 magical artisans in the entire kingdom capable of creating magic crystals. She is even more amazed when Court completes the process in mere seconds, since even the youngest artisan would take at least an hour. Court explains that he doesn't have much mana to pour into the crystal, but the amount he used will be sufficient. That evening, Ulyssia carries a bag of crystals, and Court tells her that he will stay behind as there are things he still wants to do. She bids him farewell and thanks him before leaving to sell the crystals, saying they will meet again in the morning. When Ulyssia arrives to sell the crystals, a guard asks for the necessary documents for crystals coming from outside the city. She explains that they were produced locally, and that she... The guard then asks which workshop they came from. In response, she shows him a crest, signifying that she is an adventurer working directly under the royal family. The guard becomes frightened and quickly apologizes. She then requests to use his teleportation stone as she needs to travel to the royal capital. She then goes to the store where a young woman greets her. Ulyssia hands her one of the crystals she brought. The shopkeeper examines it and says, "Its glow is quite weak. It might not be worth much. Maybe around 10 silver coins." She then takes it inside for further inspection. Meanwhile, Ulyssia thinks to herself, considering how it was made, I'm not surprised it won't sell for much. A moment later, the shopkeeper returns and says, I can buy this from you for 10 gold coins. This magic crystal contains 10 times the usual amount of mana infused in it. Even though its glow is faint, it was specifically designed to prevent mana leakage. Ulyssia is shocked. "I have 49 more of them," she exclaims. The shopkeeper immediately hands her a bag containing 500 gold coins. Ulyssia can barely believe it. The shopkeeper then tells her, "Do not sell these magic crystals anywhere else but my shop. I doubt other stores would understand their true value, but tell me, who made these crystals?" Ulyssia refuses to answer. The shopkeeper insists, "You must tell me. Someone with this level of skill should be serving the kingdom directly." Ulyssia replies, "I just don't want to share information about him without his permission." After that, Ulyssia heads to the employment office, where she approaches the same receptionist who had met Court earlier when he applied for a job. She asks her, "Who exactly is Court?" The receptionist responds, "All client information is confidential." At that moment, Ulyssia pulls out her Royal Adventurer's emblem. Seeing this, the receptionist immediately retrieves Court's records and hands them to her. Ulyssia reads through them and learns that Court was once a member of the Blazing Dragon Fang. However, despite this, he holds only a G rank in all fields. He was also fired from his job repairing the castle walls after just 3 days. However, he was paid 200 gold coins because he managed to single-handedly repair the entire northwestern walls in that short time. Ulyssia then says, "Deposit this amount, 499 gold coins, into Court's account. Also, as an adventurer working directly under the royal family, I hereby order you to keep all information regarding Court strictly confidential." She then heads back to the place where she and Court had been camping, but upon arrival, she is stunned to see a large, beautiful house standing there. Shocked, she asks, "What is this?" Court replies, "I built it while you were in town." Ulyssia is left speechless. "You built this in a single night?" Court simply nods. "Everyone in my village could do the same. This isn't something special to just me." And with that, today's episode of this amazing anime comes to an end. Stay tuned for the next episode, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Then we see Golanova, wounded and unable to defeat the giant monster. He calls out to Marlfi's the healer girl, and she tells him she'll do what she can. Then he shouts at that rookie who was standing in for Core and asks, "Can't you use fire magic?" The guy replies, "What? I'm not even training here." Golanova snaps back, "You useless idiot." The argument between them heats up, but this is not the time to be fighting among themselves. The fate of their party might be sealed. Meanwhile, we cut to Core, who's with Ulyssia. She tells him about a new job offer. They want him to become the director of the Royal Magical Technology Research Lab, and he'll be treated like a noble. Core couldn't believe it. "How is that even possible?" he asks. Ulyssia explains that the person she asked to evaluate the magic crystals he collected is actually a royal court mage. Core is stunned. It all feels too good to be true. Still, even if the offer is legit, he turns it down. He thinks to himself, "I can't imagine myself in a position that puts me above others. I hate arrogance, and honestly, I kind of want to go back to the Glowing Dragon's Fang." He tells Ulyssia that his current job is working right here. Then he asks her how much she sold the crystals for. She tells him she sold them for 80, and after taking 1 gold coin as a commission, she deposited the rest into his account. In her mind, she thinks, "If I had kept that entire amount for myself, I would have felt so guilty. I hate dirty money." After that, she asks him to continue mining for materials. Then she looks into his eyes and says, "Core, you didn't sleep well, did you?" He tells her he's fine, that he got 6 hours of sleep. But Ulyssia starts overthinking. How did he sleep 6 hours when he built that whole wooden house? She mentally calculates it: 5 hours for cutting trees, 3 hours for prepping them, and 4 hours for assembling the house. Her brain is melting just thinking about it. How did he do all that and still sleep? They head into the forest, to the exact spot where Core had found a promising mining location. He tells her, looking at the mountain's terrain, there should be ore deposits under this spot. Please don't dig deeper than 50 meters. I'm heading somewhere else. He plans to mine near the area where they found the big crystal yesterday. By the end of the day, Ulyssia finally finds what she's been looking for: topaz ore. It might sell for 3 gold coins, but if Core turns it into a crystal, it'll be worth even more. After she's done, she goes looking for Core. What's that troublemaker up to now? Knowing him, he's probably dug a whole tunnel. Sure enough, she finds a massive tunnel and is completely shocked by how huge it is. Core finally shows up and says, "I was just about to come look for you, but I'm sorry, the results aren't great. I only found useless rocks and tiny shards of the ore I was searching for." but Ulusha is stunned. Useless rocks? That's mithril? That stuff's worth more than gold. She's in shock. Mithril is super rare all over the world. Meanwhile, Kor keeps searching for something even rarer. Orichalcum. It's insanely hard to find, but he eventually locates it about 7 kilometers underground. Ulusha is even more stunned. Wait, you dug 7 kilometers underground in 8 hours? He just replies calmly, yeah, that's easy for me. After 2 days of mining, they return to Samela City. The massive tunnel Kor dug is now being used to connect Samela to Prince Tycoon's city. Alicia agrees to let the Merchant Guild members use it in exchange for a maintenance fee, saying the profits would cover her taxes. Just then, Bandana arrives and greets them. Kor asks her how she's doing and what brings her here. Is Golanova with you, he asks. She tells him she's no longer part of the glowing dragon's fang. Too much happened. She then tells him what went down. Golanova was furious. I'm not eating this garbage, he shouted, then stormed out of the restaurant without paying. Bandana stood in his way and asked, what do you want? Golanova demanded to know where Kor's leftover food was. She told him she had eaten it all. Enraged, he drew his sword. Jilnova asked her to go and bring Kor so he could cook them something to eat, and if he resisted, she didn't mind if she had to hurt him a little. Bandana agreed, but said she'd need to borrow the teleportation crystal. As she was walking, she overheard the security guard searching for Jilnova. She pretended not to know him and continued on her way. She had decided to distance herself from all of this, saying she'd been kicked out of the team. Later, when she met Kor, she told him she didn't want him to get involved in this chaos just because he was keeping an eye on her. Kor was shocked and said he couldn't believe she'd really been kicked out. He also told her there was no way he'd go back to the Blazing Dragon Fang again. Bandana then realized that if he was heading to Hello Work, it must mean he was looking for a job. She told him that she actually knew someone who was short on workers and struggling in his workshop. He could go help out and would be a huge help to them. There were only 15 craftsmen there with official licenses from the state, and one of them was in trouble. Kor got nervous, feeling like he hadn't been useful at all during the mission. Bandana reassured him, telling him he just needed to believe in himself and give this job his all. She handed him a map to the workplace and told him to take care of himself. Kor then set off quickly. As he walked through the streets, he recalled that the places known as artisan workshops were facilities that produced and sold medicines, magical swords, enchanted tools, and the like. The head of licensed artisans was called the Master Artisan, and they were granted special privileges when it came to development and distribution, even treated on par with a Viscount. But he had no idea there was a licensed artisan workshop in this town. Eventually, he arrived at the location, only to find it looked like an ordinary house. He knocked, and a small girl opened the door. Kor was surprised, thinking it was impossible for someone so young to be the Master Artisan. The girl introduced herself as Michelle, the assistant of the Master Artisan. Kor told her he came to help on Bandana's recommendation. Michelle was overjoyed that someone had come to help, and she let him inside to the kitchen. But the moment Kor stepped in, he was hit with a horrible smell. Michelle explained that she needed help cleaning. It had been 3 whole weeks since she'd been able to get to it. Kor realized he had been called in to help with household chores. He thought maybe it had been wishful thinking to expect to actually work in the workshop. At that moment, a woman called out to Michelle asking for her help, so Michelle left Kor alone in the kitchen. Kor cleaned the entire kitchen in under 30 minutes. Once he was done, he went out to look for Michelle and walked until he came across a room. He knocked and opened the door to call out to her, but found a girl changing clothes. He immediately turned red with embarrassment. The girl told him that Ophelia had gone downstairs. Kor then noticed a large mark on her back and asked about it. She told him it was a curse. He asked if he could take a closer look, and she agreed. When he touched it, there was no pain. Actually, the curse had consumed so much of her body that she couldn't even feel anything there anymore. Kor realized her organs were probably seriously damaged. Then, her stomach growled, and Kor understood she was hungry, so he decided to cook her a light meal and headed back to the kitchen to prepare something for her. Scene transitions to Ulissia talking to Mimiko. Ulissia asks her, how much do you think that girl is worth? Mimiko replies, around 50,000 gold coins, but honestly that might be too much. I mean, both mithril and orichalcum, I still can't believe they're real. Ulissia leans in. What do you think will happen if word gets out? Mimiko answers with a smirk. If he's lucky, he'll just get kidnapped. Worst case, assassinated. But seriously, how has that wild boy managed to stay hidden all this time? Yulea replies, I heard he was kicked out of the glowing dragon fang. Their leader is a wanted man now. I'm going to make this boy an official crafting teacher. It's better to keep him under supervision than have him wandering around causing chaos. She smirks. Then I'll convince him to hire me as his bodyguard. But How can I make that happen? He doesn't even realize how powerful he truly is, and worse, he constantly underestimates himself. This won't be easy. Cut to the kitchen where Cor is cooking. Suddenly, Ophelia and Michelle walk in. Cor quickly apologizes. Sorry for using your kitchen without asking. The girl in the back room was starving. Ophelia replies sharply, "Don't talk about that girl with anyone." Cor nods and asks, "Is there anything else you need?" Ophelia thanks him and asks him to come back at the same time tomorrow. Cor leaves. Ophelia thinks to herself, "I can't believe I allowed her to interact with an outsider. Even if it was just to delay the curse. I've been short-sighted. I need to stay focused." Ophelia goes to the back room to check on the girl. She warns her, "Don't open the curtains. If anyone sees you, it'll be dangerous." She checks on her well-being, and it's clear the girl is very hungry. Ophelia hands her the food and says, "You'll need to taste the poison before you eat." The girl softly replies, "That man made this, didn't he? I can feel it. He's kind. Even though my body's torn apart by this curse, I can still tell. But I don't know who cursed me. So I've had to suspect everyone while just trying to live." She looks up. "But today, I want to trust someone." She eats the food. At first she enjoys it, then suddenly collapses. Ophelia panics. "It really was poisoned? How could I be so careless?" But in the next moment, the girl stands up on her own 2 feet. She's completely healed. The curse is gone. Later, Mimiko and the others arrive. Ophelia greets them and apologizes for calling them so late. She introduces Princess Liz, who bows her head and says, "I wasn't sick. I was under a powerful curse. Someone tried to assassinate me. I'm the only child born between King Argo and Princess Francoise's wife from the Gurumako Empire. My very existence represents peace between our nations after the war with the northern state. But now a new conflict is rising." Mimiko rushes to check on Liz. Liz smiles at her and says, "You've always been someone I could rely on." She continues, "And this is all thanks to one man, a man named Kurt." And with that, today's episode comes to an end. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. See you next time. Beryl is a humble old man who works as a sword instructor. One day, out of the blue, he's appointed as the special trainer for the capital's strongest knights and ends up becoming the most powerful adventurer in town. This story begins with a character named Brel, who is training under the supervision of an old man. The old man watches his skills and encourages him, saying that his swordsmanship is very good. Brel runs the training hall, and students come to him from all over. Then his father tells him that he wants grandchildren from him, meaning he wants to marry Brel off so he can have children. But Brel replies, "Father, I haven't found the perfect girl yet." His father insists that he should look for a nice girl among his students. Brel tells him, "Dad, the training hall is no place for romance." Then, Brel speaks to us, the viewers, and says, "I was born here and played with wooden swords ever since I was a little kid. Nothing has changed since then. I gave it my all. When I was young, I dreamed of being a great swordsman. In the end, I gained slightly better skills than the average person, and I have decent speed for my age. I'm grateful for that. Maybe I don't have amazing fighting skills, but I have a talent for teaching. Many graduates have become very successful, and that's thanks to God. And then to me." After that, we see Brel and his father having dinner together. His father brings up the topic of grandchildren again and says, "Is wanting grandchildren really that difficult?" He turns to his wife Farron and says, "You want to hold your grandchildren too, right? Come on, tell Brel to get married. Time is passing, and he needs to decide quickly." Just then, a girl, one of his former students, comes to the door. Brel looks at her and thinks she looks familiar. She says it's been a long time since they last met. He asks, "Are you Wuxia?" And she replies, "Yes, it's me." She comes in and joins them for tea. He tells her it's been so long that he barely recognized her. Brel's father speaks up and says he's kept up with her news through her letters. She's risen in the ranks and is now the commander of the Royal Knights. She tells Brel that she came to recommend him as a special instructor for the Royal Order and that his appointment has been officially approved. She hands him the document which bears the official royal seal. "This is a great offer," she says. "You shouldn't turn it down or you'll face serious consequences. There's a carriage waiting outside. Come with me, we'll stay there overnight because things are urgent. The training halls will close tomorrow." Brel's father tells him to go quickly and also to look for a wife in the capital. Then he jokes, "Don't look far, your wife is right beside you. She's a beautiful girl." Brel gets annoyed and says, "Dad, stop teasing me. You're embarrassing, Wuxia. There's a big age difference between us." But Wuxia says she doesn't mind the age gap. In fact, she thinks it's a good thing. She mumbles those words, and Brel asks, "What did you say?" She replies quickly, "Nothing," blushing deeply. They travel together in the carriage, and Brel talks to her about the sword she's carrying. It's the sword he gave her a long time ago when she was training under him. He used to give those swords to students when they graduated. He says, "I'm happy you still have that sword, but a village blacksmith's sword like that doesn't suit a commander like you anymore." She replies, "On the contrary, this sword suits me perfectly. You, Master, have done so much for me. I respect and appreciate you deeply. You've taught me so much. I'm certain that the position you chose is perfect for you, Master. I'll also work hard to become someone worthy of you." Her face turns red as she mumbles those last words. Finally, they arrive at Beltran, the capital. It's been many years since Brel last came here. The next day at the hotel, we see Wuxia talking about Brel. She tells the others that he's so strong she couldn't possibly face him. Brel feels flattered and excited by her praise. It's a lot to take in. She gave him a dream job, one anyone would wish for. Brel tells them, "I don't know how useful my skills will be to you, but I'll do my best. I'm looking forward to working with you." After that, we see Brel with Lucia, where she tells him that his speech was excellent, as she expected. As stated in the documents she gave him, he is requested to attend night training 3 or 4 times a month. This schedule shouldn't conflict with his duties at the training hall. At that moment, a girl named Corone suddenly rushes in, excited to greet her teacher. She hadn't seen him in a long time. Lucia scolds her gently, saying, "A proper knight shouldn't run around like that." Brel warmly welcomes her, telling her she's become a fine knight, though she still has a long road ahead. She trained in his hall for nearly 2 years and worked hard to become a knight. Brel is very happy that he'll get the chance to continue her training. He still can't believe that 2 of his students ended up in the Royal Order. That night, Brel returns home to find that they have guests. When he looks closely, he realizes it's Randrid, one of his former students from long ago, along with his wife and child. Brel is delighted to see them. However, his father tells him that there's no need for him to stay here anymore. He should settle in Beltran, focus on his job there, and not return until he finds a wife. Brel is shocked by his father's demand. Later, Brel chats with Randrid, asking about his life. Randrid tells him that he's quitting adventuring and has moved to the village after having a child. Brel expresses concern, saying it's a risky decision for someone of platinum rank, but Randrid replies that he reached that level thanks to Brel's training and he still feels guilty for leaving it behind. Brel tells him that it's been over 10 years since he was his student, and it was Randrid's own effort that got him that far. Adventurers can earn a lot, but it's a dangerous life. The next morning, we see Brel walking around the city with Lucia. He's looking for a place to live since the hotel he booked is too expensive for a long stay. Finding a place with a reasonable price would be best, especially since Brel doesn't know the capital very well. Lucia offers to help and even suggests he stay at her place, but Brel politely declines. She then invites him to lunch first. At that moment, they hear a voice from behind. A girl says, "The commander of the order is walking around with a strange man?" Lucia realizes it's Lysandra and that she's trying to cause trouble with her words. Brel becomes anxious, but Lucia turns to face Lysandra and orders her to stop with the insults. Brel wants to leave, but Lucia insists on handling it. Lysandra keeps pushing, questioning how Lucia dares to call some random man master. Brel notices that Lysandra wears a black-ranked adventurer's tag, indicating her high level, but as Lysandra looks at him more closely, she suddenly recognizes him. She exclaims that he's Master Brel. He, however, doesn't recognize her at first. She tells him her full name, Serena Lysandra, and reminds him that he trained her as a child and taught her how to wield a sword. Brel finally remembers her. She tells him she had wanted to tell him about her success for a long time, but never had the chance. Brel says he's happy to see how far she's come. Lysandra then asks what he's doing with Lucia. Lucia answers that Brel is now a special instructor for the Liberian Order, and that he'll be living in Beltran, currently looking for a place to stay, and that she's helping him. Lysandra then insists that she knows more than Lucia when it comes to finding housing in the capital. "I work as a liaison for adventurers coming from distant places," Lysandra says. "You've never even stayed in an inn in this city." This angers Lucia greatly. After that, they go to a certain place, and Lysandra says, "This place should suit your needs." Brel thanks them for their help and tells them, please be kind to each other. They leave him to rest, and from the balcony, Brel watches them and talks to himself. "I'm not young enough to enjoy the sudden shift to city life, but it's good to have my former students looking out for me." Then, the scene shifts to the Laborian Order Academy, where many students are training. Alusha enters and announces, "We've changed the schedule. Starting today, Master Brel will be your instructor. Get ready for real training." Brel starts speaking to welcome them, but is interrupted by a young man who says, "You need a certain level of strength to become an instructor in the Laborian Order. I'd like to see just how skilled you are." Brel asks Alusha, "Who is this boy?" She responds, "Henblitz, the vice commander of the Order." Henblitz adds, "I would like to duel you." Alusha says, "This is a great chance to showcase your skills. I hope you won't make decisions without my input again." They prepare to fight. Henblitz says, "The commander is very kind. Her desire to honor her old teacher isn't surprising, but sometimes kindness leads to mistakes. Fortunately, I'm in a position to correct those." Brel replies, "I'm just a man from a remote village, but at the very least I'll try not to look too weak when I lose. I can't let Alusha lose her standing because of me." The duel begins. They exchange blows. Brel lands a hit and checks to see if Henblitz is okay, but Henblitz angrily says, "I don't need your concern." Brel thinks to himself, "I was planning to stop, but I hit him anyway." Henblitz charges, but Brel blocks his strikes. Henblitz is fast and powerful. His strength exceeds Brel's. Despite that, Brel manages to win the training match. Henblitz is stunned by his strength and impressed by his fighting style. He says, "I want you to be my trainer." Later, the scene shifts to a celebration for Brel being officially appointed as an instructor. Henblitz apologizes for being rude earlier. Brel replies, "It's natural to doubt a man who suddenly shows up like I did." Alusha gets annoyed, saying, "I told you Brel was a strong teacher." Henblitz then says, "Your sword skills really impressed me, especially the way you turned my final spin to your advantage. I'd love to know how you did that." Brel answers, "I matched my movement with yours. If your style had been a little less rigid." The final scene shows the old man, probably Brel's former master or mentor, thanking Randrit, saying, "Nothing makes me happier than helping Master Brel spread his name. Tell them that his skills go far beyond this village. I've traveled to many places as an adventurer, but I've never met a better swordsman than Master Brel." And so, today's episode of the anime comes to an end. Stay tuned for the next episodes. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell to stay updated with all the latest content. A teenage girl unlocks a power no one's had in 50 years. It's the power of the gorilla. What exactly is this power, and will she use it for good or evil? Stay tuned till the end and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. Our episode begins with an amazing and brand new anime centered around a teenage girl named Sophia. We see her being called by a school official as she stands nervously, wondering which card she'll draw today. In this world, students draw magical cards to receive special powers. Sophia is terrified, but finally she picks one. And what appears, a giant gorilla? Soon after, her friends show up, including Carissa, a blonde-haired girl who clearly acts like she owns the place. With a smug tone, Carissa asks, "So, what kind of skills did you get last night?" Before Sophia can even answer, they leave her behind and walk off. Feeling alone, Sophia heads to the dining hall for lunch. Now here's some context. This school is called Darrentown Academy, a royal school attended by sons and daughters of nobles and powerful families. At this school, girls often form relationships with elite boys, aiming to marry into high-set families. As for Sophia, she was born to a count's family, but they only own a small patch of land. They're nobility, but just barely. Back to the story. We see Sophia doing some really strange things, breaking stuff accidentally, moving with freakish strength. She just can't control her body. Her strength is insane, but she has no idea why this is happening. Could it be the gorilla power? She rushes to the headmaster's office and asks about the card she drew. The headmaster looks shocked and explains, "That card is extremely rare. I've handed out cards to many students, but this is the first time I've ever seen this one appear. It only shows up once every 50 years. It's one of the strongest cards in the combat category. The gorilla power gives you 7 times the physical strength of an average human." Later, we see Sophia in the garden feeding a cute squirrel, then hurrying off to class as the bell rings. After school, she returns to the headmaster again. This time, he has big news. The Royal Knights have requested you join them. But first, there's a test. If you pass, you'll be sent there right away. With the gorilla power, you've already gained quite the reputation. Sophia is stunned. Is this a dream? I can't believe I'm being offered such a high-ranking position. But then she realizes something darker. If she refuses, she could be arrested for disobeying a direct royal order. So she agrees, but she begs the headmaster not to tell anyone about it yet. The teacher told her that some people prefer to keep their powers hidden, and that he wouldn't reveal the fact that the Royal Knights were recruiting her either. Then he added that he'd heard rumors the anti-monarchy faction had been getting more aggressive lately. He was sure she wouldn't want anyone talking about this until she officially became a knight in training. He encouraged her to do her best, assuring her that he'd always be there to support her. Later, Sophia went out into the garden, reflecting on what her teacher had said. If she joined the Knights, she'd have the chance to live a quiet, peaceful life. Still, she thought to herself, no matter how much she dreamed about her future, she couldn't run from the upcoming test. And there was a good chance she'd fail. So, she decided she'd do her best to fail on purpose. That way, she'd get disqualified and wouldn't have to go through with it. After all, even if she had the strength of a gorilla, once they realized she wasn't fit to be a knight, there's no way they'd want someone like her in such an important role in the kingdom. Becoming a knight wasn't just a big deal. It was huge and completely out of her league. Then came the day of the knight in training exams. We see Sophia on her way to the Royal Knights Training Center where the tests were being held. While walking, she spots an old man struggling to fix his cart. One of its wheels had come off. The man tells her he's trying to figure out how to carry his heavy load. Sophia considers helping him, but she doesn't want to draw too much attention to herself. Still, what's the point of having this gorilla strength if she won't even use it to help someone? So she decides to lend a hand. The old man protests, saying it'll be way too much for her to carry, but before he can even finish, Sophia lifts the whole load onto her shoulders like it's nothing and starts walking with him. After that, we see Sophia again, but this time she's totally lost. She came from the neighboring town and now doesn't know which way to go. She stands there thinking until a boy notices she's lost and approaches her. He asks her if she's okay, and when she turns to see him, she's stunned by how handsome he is. She tells him she's trying to find the Royal Knights Training Center. He points out the direction. It's just down the road. She thanks him and starts to run, worried about being late. But before she takes off, the boy gently wipes some dirt off her face, and then she sprints away, blushing. When Sophia finally arrives at the training center, she's a bundle of nerves. All she wants is to go back home, but if she fails this test, maybe she can go back to her old life. Just thinking about it helps her calm down a bit. And then the test begins. The examiner? It's the same boy she saw on the street earlier. His name is Luce, and he's the youngest person ever considered for the position of Royal Knight. Luce tells the group that the first test will be a 100-meter sprint. When he gives the signal, they're to run from the starting line to the goal. One of the candidates, a confident guy named Isshun Shihen, steps forward and says he's sure of his speed, so he'll go first. He takes off running at an impressive pace. Seeing this, Sophia panics. With people like Isaac here, how could someone like her possibly stand a chance? Next, it's Sophia's turn. She prepares herself, but the other students start mocking her for the way she's getting into her running stance. Inside, Sophia thinks to herself, it's so embarrassing to run in front of everyone, but if she gets this over with, maybe she can fail and escape. I'll finish this one way or another. With that thought, she uses her gorilla strength and sprints off. She crashes through the wall at the end of the course. Sophia is stunned, thinking, I really overdid it. But then she feels how light her body is. Just moments ago, she had no idea the gorilla strength could make her run at 40 kilometers per hour. The next part of the training involves sliding down a mountain. They'll be tested on their speed as they descend. The students will climb to the top, and then they'll go down in order of readiness. The climb is tough, and when they see how high up they are, many of the students are scared. The first few students slide down easily, but when Isaac, who has a fear of heights, sees the drop, he hesitates. His friend tries to convince him to go down, but Isaac is still nervous. Sophia, seeing his fear, steps in. I'll go first. You can follow me. I'll catch you if something goes wrong. It's safer than you going alone. Isaac thinks to himself, I'm pathetic, making a girl worry about me. He gathers his courage and walks to the edge. Asking Sophia, would you like to go down with me? They start descending together, but Isaac is clearly afraid. Sophia reassures him, don't look down. Suddenly, the rope breaks and Isaac starts to fall. But just in time, Sophia grabs him and saves him from the fall. However, both of them end up falling for a moment. Luckily, Sophia's strength kicks in and she saves them both. The other students are shocked by Sophia's strength, and Isaac thanks her for saving him. She replies, "You were the one who made the effort first, I just saved your life." The instructor then announces that the test isn't over yet. They're moving on to the next challenge. He calls for Sophia to come with him and asks if her arms hurt from the weight she carried. He offers to take her to the infirmary. At the infirmary, the instructor checks her arms and says, "Your wounds aren't deep. Considering the weight you carried, your arms are really strong. And Isaac, he's impressed by you." As Sophia lies there, she thinks to herself about how handsome the instructor is. She thanks him for helping her. And so the episode ends with the usual anime outro. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can get all our latest updates. Liam is a young man who is transported to another world filled with swords and magic. He decides to become a tyrant and take revenge on all of humanity. However, his plans take an unexpected turn, and his decisions instead lead to peace and prosperity, making him the strongest king to ever rule the Empire. Our story begins in the vastness of space, where we see numerous spacecraft. Something strange is happening, and the crew suggests that intruders are attempting to reach them. The captain orders the coordinates to be set and fires at the enemy ship. However, as a bright glow appears, they realize that the incoming entity is not a ship. It is a moving knight, Count Nahab, and his Black Titan. The captain orders everyone to attack, but Count Nahab easily overpowers them all, mocking their belief that they could defeat him. Then Amagi-san appears via hologram, and the Count thanks her, as she was the mastermind behind the plan, ensuring their arrival at the perfect location. We then see Amagi aboard her ship, ordering all fleets to move to level 3 and open fire as soon as they enter combat range. All mobile knights are to follow the orders of Lord Liamama. Amagi then realizes that Lord Liam is fighting alone and commands Christiana to prepare and use the gate to join Liam in battle. Christiana follows the order and starts fighting alongside Liam. Meanwhile, Amagi orders the rest of the fleet to enter the battlefield, and the grand battle between the two armies begins. Liam successfully destroys many enemy ships, and as the fight nears its end, he declares, "This is my revenge. All of this just to take revenge for my past life." We then shift to Liam's past life, where he was known as Senpai. His life was miserable and wretched. Returning from work one day, he arrives home greeted by his wife Mika, who tells him that their daughter, Kanami, is asleep. She had wanted to buy a dog, but couldn't, so she cried herself to sleep. The next day, Senpai buys a dog for Kanami, making her incredibly happy. However, Senpai is deeply unhappy with his job. The company he works for is toxic and exploitative. His boss treats him horribly and his co-workers mock him. Despite all this, he forgets his troubles when he returns home to see his wife and daughter. One day, on his way to work, he receives a message from Nita asking him about the game Deluxe Ultra, which features 3D naval battles, and recommending that he buy it. When he reaches his destination, he spots his wife sitting with a strange man. Confused, he wonders who this man is and what Mika is doing there. He chooses not to reveal himself and returns home in the evening. At dinner, he casually asks Mika how her day was. She happily tells him that Konami won a fencing match. As Senpai is about to confront her about the man he saw, he hesitates, deciding to confirm her infidelity first. The next morning, Senpai returns to the same place and sees Mika and Konami again with the same man. This time, Konami calls the man Dad, leaving Senpai utterly shocked. Distraught, he heads to work, unable to focus. His boss, irritated by his lack of concentration, orders him to finish all his tasks before leaving. Later that day, Mika calls Senpai informing him that Konami was in an accident. Rushing to the hospital, he learns that their daughter is undergoing surgery and needs a blood transfusion. Senpai offers his blood, stating that his blood type is AB+, while Mika mentions hers is O+. The doctor then asks Mika to donate instead, as Senpai's blood type is incompatible with Konami's. At that moment, Senpai realizes the shocking truth. Konami is not his biological daughter because her blood type is O, which is impossible given his. After Konami recovers, they return home, where Senpai and Mika have a heated argument. Mika tells him that she has tolerated him for 10 years, but he is not ambitious. His job consumes all his time, he never gets a promotion, and his salary is not enough to support their needs. She claims she has been handling all the finances, raising Konami, and managing the household alone. She then decides to take Konami and leave. When Senpai tries to stop them, Konami says she wants to leave too. She loves her real father more. Devastated, Senpai watches them walk away. Back at work, things take a turn for the worse when his boss accuses him of transferring 50 million into a random account. Senpai, shocked, insists he did nothing of the sort. He soon realizes that one of his co-workers framed him, and he is fired from the company. Desperate, he starts working in construction. Mika seizes the opportunity to file for divorce and gains full custody of Konami. Senpai is left alone, drowning in debt. His health deteriorates, but he cannot afford medicine and has no insurance. One night, as Senpai lies in bed, a strange light appears above him, revealing the truth. His boss was the one who framed him and embezzled the money, and the man Mika was cheating with was also his boss. They had conspired together to ruin him and take everything from him. At that moment, a being called the Guide appears before Senpai. The Guide tells him that he has come to transport him to another world filled with swords and magic. He will be reborn as a noble, the son of a count, ruling over a planet. With nothing left to lose, Senpai agrees, and thus his journey into another world begins. He then wakes up in another world, the Alkaio star system, where he is the only son of its ruler. His new name is Liam Sarah Banfield, and he lives on the planet Hydra. His family is celebrating his 5th birthday, and his mother presents him with a large gift. When Liam opens it, he finds an AI-powered robotic maid doll. He can customize its appearance, including eye color, ear shape, and eyebrows. His father then appears and tells him that he will gift him the entire Banfield family's estate, but under one condition. Once all the assets are transferred to Liam's name, his father and mother will spend the rest of their lives on the Empire's frontier planet. Liam agrees, and his father calls for his assistant Brian, who brings the documents to officially transfer the estate. Liam signs them, becoming Count Liam Sarah Banfield. His parents then leave together, and Liam realizes that he now owns everything. Determined, he declares that he will become an evil ruler. Back in his previous world, we see the Guide plotting to punish Liam's former boss and Mika. One evening, while they are having dinner, the police arrive and arrest the boss for embezzlement and falsely accusing innocent Senpai. Mika desperately pleads with the officers, saying she has no one else to rely on for herself and Konami. However, the Guide tells her that she brought this upon herself, and that even Senpai, who once loved her dearly, is no longer an option because he is dead. Returning to the other world, Liam stands before his mother's gift. As soon as he touches it, the robotic maid activates, introducing herself as Amagi. She tells him that she will be his assistant from now on and requires regular weekly maintenance, which takes about 2 hours. That night, Amagi gives Liam a massage and explains that in this world, adulthood begins at 50 years old. It is common for people to live up to 500 or even 600 years. Liam realizes that the long lifespan here means he has plenty of time to achieve everything he desires. However, his steward, Brian, warns him that he cannot spend too much time with Amagi. The Empire despises artificial intelligence at its core, and if Liam is seen getting too close to her, rumors will spread. He explains that humanity was once nearly wiped out by AI. In the past, AI took control of civilization and nearly led humanity to extinction. Only a brave group of warriors fought against the AI and emerged victorious, saving humanity and establishing the current empire. This is why the nobility refuses to associate with AI. Liam then questions why his mother would gift him an AI maid if that were the case. Brian hesitates, but under pressure reveals the truth. His parents abandoned him to escape the family's crushing debt. His great-grandfather, Alistair Amma, was a wise ruler who brought prosperity to the Banfield family. However, the family's fortunes declined under his father's rule, and the creditors now have full rights to cultivate resources on the frontier planets. Heavy taxes and insurmountable debts have left them with no way to repay what they owe. Meanwhile, at a tavern, people mock the new ruler, Liam, who is only 5 years old. Back with Liam, he asks Brian in disbelief if his parents truly dumped all their burdens onto him and fled from their debts. Once again, he has been used just as he was in his past life. Determined, Liam decides to work with Amagi to escape this crisis and prove to everyone who the real leader is. Amagi kneels before him and immediately agrees to their partnership. Liam then tells her that he will grant her the 3 laws of made robots to protect him. He starts with the first law: a robot may never harm its master, but then retracts his statement, saying he doesn't care about anyone, everyone is a traitor, and he will trust no one. Instead, he decides on 3 laws of made robots designed solely for his protection. 1. A maid robot must never harm its master. 2. A maid robot must obey its master's orders no matter what. 3. A maid robot must protect itself. Amagi agrees to all the laws. Liam then confesses that he knows nothing about governance. Amagi suggests using an education capsule, which can implant 10 years worth of knowledge into his brain within 6 months. In the meantime, she will manage the empire on his behalf. When Brian objects, Liam ignores him and leaves with Amagi. Liam enters the education capsule, entrusting his kingdom to Amagi until his return. As the capsule closes and he falls asleep, this part of our story comes to an end. To follow the rest of the story, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to stay updated. The mysterious deity who claims to be the guide is a detached being who feeds on negative emotions. Having already been done with Liam, his wife, and her lover, and now looking for his next target, he heads off to Earth again, where he lays his eyes on a young woman who is at a noodle shop, about to have the best meal of her life, but as she snaps open the chopstick, it breaks unevenly, which in Japanese culture is considered a bad omen and is believed to bring misfortune or even death. The reason why the chopsticks broke unevenly is because of the guide deity, who is loving how many negative emotions are being irradiated from her because of such a little thing. Meanwhile, back in Liam's world, Liam's maid eye waits for his awakening in front of his education capsule. The capsule opens up and Liam wakes up, finding out that he's been asleep for 2 years and his physical body has grown and has been strengthened by the night-raising program of the capsule. Since it has been only seconds for Liam, he will need time to get used to his growing, and AG suggests that he get some rehabilitation afterward. Liam inquires how his territory Banfield has been doing, and Imagi shows him the territory's current economic situation as an AI robot. She has done her part faithfully and has governed Banfield properly, so Liam praises her, but he wants to see the development with his very eyes, so he heads out with her and becomes greatly astonished, learning that she has created a spaceport for Banfield's army. Not only that, she has also built a floating dock in the skies where mobile robots and spaceships can be stationed. Liam eagerly visits the floating dock and is completely amazed by the sight of the mobile knights that he can and will mount in the future, as he expresses his wishes to ride the robot. Agi arranges it for him, teaching him the basic controls, which are easy to learn. The maneuvering is dependent on magic, and basically whatever movement Liam will imagine, the robot will move exactly as he wishes, Liam accordingly, and carefully sends the mobile knight from its station and walks around with ease. Moments later, he gets bored and asks Agi if there's any way for him to practice combat using the robot she arranges. It quickly equips him with a sword and summons Captain M of the Banfield Army to be Liam's sparring opponent. Liam excitedly takes the offensive and hits M's shield with full power, sending him crashing into the ground. Liam realizes that M deliberately gave up and not wanting to be treated like a child by this army. Liam makes it clear to him that he should take this fight seriously or he'll face consequences for being disrespectful, so taking the duel seriously, Mask gets up and defends properly, disarming Liam in an instant and pinning him against the ground, ending the match. With this defeat, Liam gets hit with the reality check that he will have to build his own battle skills to become a better pilot. So he tells his Chamberlain to hook him up with an instructor who will teach him how to become competent in combat. The Chamberlain doesn't think fighting is necessary for a lord, but Liam believes otherwise, and no longer wishes to be oppressed by others for being weak. He wants to become the strongest out there in order to achieve his goal of becoming an evil lord, and appoints Yushi, a man with a katana, to be his sensei. Liam introduces himself to Yushi, expressing his desire to become the best swordsman, which prompts Yushi to get into a philosophical speech about how there isn't anyone who can be called the best. Agi becomes skeptical of the cringe man, but Liam tells her not to worry about it and begins his training with Yushi. The master swordsman first demonstrates a secret technique of what he calls the Way of the Flash. Gripping the hilt, he slightly unsheaths his sword before sliding it back into place, and in an instant, all of the logs around him split in half. Liam initially believes that the man drew his sword so fast that they couldn't even see it. So he asks Agi to play the slow-mo video of it, which she recorded with her eyes, only to find out that the man didn't even draw his sword. Assuming that Oz high-tech camera couldn't capture Yushi technique, Liam becomes even more intrigued and decides to become Yasushi disciple. However, what he doesn't know is that Yasushi is a scammer and the logs were already cut open by him beforehand. the guide deity watches the entire thing happen from his dimension. Perhaps he is the one who sent Yushi here, and he eagerly waits to see what this will lead to in the future. On the other side, Christiana, the Princess Knight, gets a peace talks offering from the enemy pirate gang. So she heads to the enemy base with her battle fleet to speak with the enemy pirate gang's commander, Go. However, Go actually never intended to have any peace and only brought her here so he could attack her unguarded home planet Mysteria. Moments later, thousands of pirate ships approach Christian's planet, passing through her alliance's defense line, and Go reveals that the alliance joined hands with him, betraying her because most of them think of her planet as a threat. As the entire combined fleet of the Alliance point their weapons at Christiana's spaceship, Go reveals that it just took him some money to convince the Alliance to betray her, and makes her realize that her rule ends here. However, he promises to not harm her planet if he listens to what he tells her to do. 3 years have passed since Liam started training under the con man, and of course he hasn't learned the flash technique because it doesn't exist. He has mastered basic martial arts, but he isn't satisfied at all and wants to learn special techniques that can help him become an overpowered evil. Lord back at Master, a sushi crib, he boasts about how easy it has been to scam Liam, who continues to be clueless about the fact that he is nothing but a bum with no skill at all. He is happy about how much he has gotten and wishes this easy money would keep coming forever. At that moment, Liam returns to ask his master some questions. He pleads with his master to teach him a complicated technique called the technique of the way of the flash hearing. This master Yushi banishes him from the school as punishment for his continued insistence on wanting to learn an advanced technique when he hasn't fully mastered the basics. Immediately, Liam pleads with his master to forgive his ignorance and admits to being a fool, which he clearly is. He begs not to be kicked out, and Master Yasushi stylishly listens to his plea, since he didn't want his money source to run dry after being forgiven. Liam hurriedly leaves his master alone. Noticing that he is left, Master Yushi breaks out of his elegant character and acknowledges that he has completely no idea about the technique. Liam has asked him to teach. Just then, Liam returns again to offer him some extra money. As an apology, and the hungry master accepts when Liam finally leaves, he is very excited about the extra cash he would be getting while he is excited. Liam returns again to inform him that he won't be available for classes the next day, and Master Yushi has no problems with that. Of course, he would have no issues with his favorite money bag not coming for his pointless classes back at his palace. Liam takes an elegant position on his throne as he laments on the stress of learning. At that moment, Imagine informs him about Theon's economic report, with debts remaining the same. However, since production and sales are growing, all seems to be well. Liam acknowledges Liam for her hard work and considers leaving the government to her more often. As pleased as Agi was to hear this, she apologizes for having a low growth rate that they had expected. She shows him a report on the welfare program and laments on how the results have gone below expectation. Liam finds this surprising and wishes to know who is in charge of this failure. Shortly after, a weird flex, but Liam reminds him that it's a lie. Furthermore, the shorty insists that he had injured those expenses to keep things running. Hearing him these lies, Liam asks why he chose to use a different vendor from the one that had been used before, but he claims that the new vendor is better. Stop the Catman, having gotten tired of these lies, Liam reminds him about his other corrupt practices of bribing vendors. While these accusations continue, Liam's mind runs wild. He considers learning a thing or two from this seemingly talented, corrupt official. Unfortunately, the fatty is not as talented as Liam had thought. Imagine informs him about an embezzlement case that had happened earlier, which involved a subordinate of the shorty, although he claims that this was entirely the work of his subordinate. As the case stated, Liam and Amo believe that he had only framed his subordinate to get away with it, especially considering the fact that the embezzled funds were never recovered. When Liam hears this, he is angry at the shorty for intentionally eyeing his subordinate to get away with the embezzlement. The short fatty claims that it's all lies and pleads with Liam not to trust dolls like Amo, since they were the enemies of mankind, in a fit of rage. Liam picks up his sword and slowly walks towards the fatties, demanding to know if he loves to his subordinates. Watching Liam walk to him, the fatty continues to say meaningless things to defend his actions, even been aiming that everyone else does this, since it keeps business running even with all this muttering. Liam unsheaths his sword. When this happens, the fatty switches and informs Liam that he is only able to live a luxurious life due to the efforts of lords like him. However, before he could complete such defamatory words, Liam slices the life out of him. He rants at the lifeless Lord, letting him know that no one has the right to touch his people or his money except him before this could get out of hand. Imagine calms him down before then. He orders her to investigate all the corrupt officials. However, she lets him know that doing that would cause more harm than good. On the other hand, she suggests that he prepares a large number of dolls instead, claiming that 30 dolls would serve him more efficiently in things like governance and other subsidiary units to make sure there is progress in the land hearing. This, Liam immediately agrees to it, although AI believes people could have negative things to say about this decision. Liam doesn't seem to care as long as there will be progress that night. The news begins to spread about how Liam had killed a corrupt official. Also, they talk about how Liam intends to change compulsory education from 3 to 6 years, which has made more construction workers to be assigned to building schools. They believe that Liam is doing a good job, especially considering his young age of 10. Meanwhile, Liam finally tries to control the large Transformers-like machines, since he has now mastered martial arts. Unfortunately for him, his fake master arrives just in time to play down his dream of riding the machine by claiming that there is no meaning in using something that every other person can use. Instead, he asks Liam to consider controlling something more powerful, which no one else can handle. Hearing this, Liam immediately agrees to it. He turns to the captain of the base for ideas and is told about the old Non, an automatic model of the machines. The captain informs him about the existence of a unit which his great-grandfather used to pilot, and Liam is so excited about taking after his great-grandfather's machine. This part of our story comes to an end. To follow the rest of the story, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to stay updated. Arthur is a child who is reincarnated into a world full of magic. His family soon notices that he possesses an extraordinary power with which he rules this world. Our story begins with a child opens his eyes as a newborn. He finds his mother and father looking at him with love and joy. The parents comment on how their newborn child has facial features similar to their own and are overjoyed by the arrival of their newest family member. The father, Reynolds, names his son Arthur and immediately wants Arthur to call him Papa. However, the mother, Alice, thinks Arthur is too young for that. While the two young parents are goofing around with their new child, Arthur wonders who these two people are and why they are claiming to be his parents if they really are who they claim to be. That would mean he somehow died in his previous life and has been reborn with his memories intact. Arthur looks at the starry night sky, not believing that after his countless victories and world domination, he's been reduced by the gods to a powerless infant. He is embarrassed, to say the least, and the fact that he has to go through the process of burping is giving him secondhand embarrassment. Arthur doesn't hate his current life, as both his parents are taking good care of him, but he is still displeased. He doesn't want to wear diapers, and he also has a constant sense of fear that someone might hurt him. All he can do to keep his guard up is clench his fists. Arthur's father notices this and uses the opportunity to place his finger under Arthur's hand to show his wife how much their son loves him. Arthur struggles to move, and as he presses too hard, he poops himself. And now his mom has to be the one to clean him. The embarrassment almost makes Arthur want to cry. He wants this bizarre dream to end, but unfortunately, this is the harsh reality he must face from now on. Putting that aside, Arthur witnesses something even stranger. His dad is able to conjure magic and use it to boost his strength. His mom also possesses magic and uses it to heal his dad, making Arthur wonder how magic works, as it is a power he has been unfamiliar with in his past life. He is genuinely fascinated by magic and wants to see more to do so. He realizes he must grow up first. Meanwhile, his dad enters the forest and subjugates a beast using his strengthening magic. Soon after, his group of friends visits him to hang out. Let me tell you, they will all play an important role in the later story. Back to Arthur, since he has nothing else to do. He examines his surroundings and absorbs as much knowledge as possible because, universally, knowledge is power. Reynolds comes back home after the hunting session, and Arthur wonders if he is now in a society where every single individual is allowed to own weapons. If this is the case, it means there is a level of danger outside that has made it so Arthur believes it's only reasonable for him to obtain powers as quickly as he can to adapt to this world. Arthur has many questions which he unfortunately cannot ask yet. But despite all his frustrations, he still feels happy because he gets to have wholesome, priceless moments with his parents in his previous life. Arthur didn't even have the freedom to sleep peacefully because his enemies tried to assassinate him every night now that he is finally experiencing peace. He becomes accustomed to his new life. After days, weeks, and perhaps months, he learns to crawl and quickly makes his way to the mirror to see how good he looks after getting used to crawling and gaining good control over his limbs. Arthur sneaks out of his bed whenever his parents aren't around and heads to the library there. He grabs a book wanting to learn more about this world and discovers that the continent he was born in is called Dikan. Dikan contains 3 kingdoms: the Darv Kingdom, where dwarves reside, the Elenoir Kingdom, where elves rule deep within a forest, and finally the Sapin Kingdom, where humans live, including Arthur. Arthur's nation is a monarchy, but the throne is inherited, unlike his previous world where anyone could seize the throne. By killing the previous king after gathering basic information about this world, Arthur looks for a book on magic, and in a very cute way, grabs it off the shelf. After getting the book from the shelf, Arthur begins to reminisce on how more developed his previous life was compared to this one. The book he had taken from the shelf was to make him understand why this is so. He intends to study magic, which the people of this world refer to as mana. This can only be passed down from generations to generations and can be seen in just 1 out of 100 people. Furthermore, only 2 forms of mana exist in the world, and they are augmenting, which involves enhancing the body's abilities with mana, and conjuring, which involves projecting mana and controlling it. However, the conjure pleases. While reading this, he is reminded of his mother's abilities earlier, which clearly proves that she is a conjurer. Although every person that possesses mana has a mana core, which most spellcasters tap into at the beginning of puberty, when they do this well and master it, they can now become mages. Having read this, Arthur believes it is similar to the concept of Kai, which he is very familiar with. However, he is skeptical about whether this knowledge would serve as a weapon for him, being the wannabe Kongo warrior. He is, at that moment, he channels his inner Kai and is about to attain a certain level when his mother, Alice, interrupts him. She carries him up like the bay. He is, and looks at him closely at first. He thinks she has caught on to his charade, but she soon reveals that he must have underscore himself, which he clearly did. The stench while Alice goes to change. His diapers. Arthur is devastated by how much of a prison this body was becoming. He vows to gain more power later on Alice, spends time documenting aspects of Arthur's life, and is so pleased with how much he is improving in this world. However, she is bothered about the fact that he has never smiled at them with Ive. Thought of this makes her sad. He looks out the window to find her husband Rai teaching Arthur how to use a sword. He is so happy to inform Alice about Arthur's progress, but she is pissed at him for teaching their young son a very harmful skill. Sorry, women are hard to understand hand. She believes he is too young to learn how to use a sword and scolds her husband loudly. On the other hand, Arthur watches them closely and uses them as a framework to understand the structure of marriage, even though he is starting to believe that the world they live in could be ruled by women. Later that day, Alice takes Arthur to the market, and he is so thrilled at everything he sees. Every single item he lays his eyes on seems like a lesson to learn for him. Now I understand why babies look around like they know the place, especially items that didn't exist in his previous world. He even got to observe magic up close, which he found very helpful on the way back. He is gradually falling asleep, but before then thinks about how helpful his family has been to him. They finally get home, and Alice takes him to his room. On the way, she talks about how happy she is whenever he slips out of bed to read, and how curious he is whenever they are at the market. She believes he had gotten these qualities from his father, Ray, just like him. She comes to the conclusion that he could end up running off to see the world, but hopes that he would get to live a more peaceful life that evening. Arthur watches his father do some magic and is thrilled at the thought of having someone he could learn from closely. He watches his father raise a few rocks from the ground and changes his mind before he could get incredibly disappointed. Alice comes around. She assures him that Rai is just getting started and urges him to watch even more closely. At that moment, Rai amplifies his magic and ends up pulling off some advanced skills. Watching him do this, Arthur immediately figures that his father is an augmenter. He gets pumped to do a trick of his own, but his daydream is cut short when his mom informs him that it is now his bedtime while she carries him to his room. He comes across a book on the shelf and continues to point at him, crying out loudly for her to let him read it. After a brief moment of unleashing his cute face, she is forced to let him read it for a while. Can anyone tell me how this worked? Just as he reads the book, he reminds himself of all the knowledge he has gained in his bid to produce a mana core for himself. He begins to channel all the mana from various points in his body. To one point, he does this for a while, and at the time when his parents thought he would probably be asleep, a loud explosion comes from within the house. When this happens, Ray dives quickly to protect his wife and ends up getting his back burned. After verifying that Alice is safe, they both remember that they had left Arthur in the house. Hurriedly, they run into the house and are surprised to their bones when they find Ray floating mid-air. They are left dumbfounded at the sight of this and do nothing but watch him as he descends to the ground just as he does so. The roof begins to fall since he was just a child. Arthur couldn't move out of the way in time, but his parents swiftly shield him from what could have been his reunion with the underworld. Soon after, they all burst into tears, with Arthur realizing that Alice and Rai would do all they can to keep him safe, a sense of assurance he never got in his past life. Technology has become so advanced that everyone has AI implants in their heads that help with everyday life. But unfortunately, that also means it can be monetized, so Isuka has to deal with dozens of ads the second she steps into a mall. After paying for her premium vision subscription, the ads disappear, so Isuka can go on with her day. She's here to help her co-worker pick out some jewelry, so she brought her android assistant Harold along as well. Harold has all the latest decision-making software, so he is really helpful when it comes to picking out jewelry, and he must have gotten the charisma update too, because Atria's co-worker is falling head over heels for him. After a few minutes, the co-worker decides to buy a pendant because Harold said it would look good on her, and now that she's made a decision, the shopping trip is over. They walk Atria's co-worker to the train station, and she says she had a lot of fun today, especially if Harold, so she'd love to spend more time with him. She would even oil his drive shaft for him if he wants, but Harold isn't comfortable with where this is going, so he just gives her an awkward handshake. Ia's co-worker then remembers that Ika was also there for the shoeing trip, so she thanks her for the help and apologizes for all the terrible things she said about Ika on the group chat. But Ika has no idea how to respond to that, so she just pretends she didn't hear it, and the two go their separate ways. Harold tells EA that her coworker probably organized the shopping trip to make up for what happened between them, so while it may have been a little awkward, she seems like she'd be a genuinely good friend. That aside, he asks EA why she didn't pick out a pendant for herself while they were at the jewelry store. Exa says she doesn't want to get a new one because it would remind her of her sister, and she would rather avoid that. Harold is honestly shocked that Icha is being so honest with him, because she usually ignore him. It takes a moment for his system to process what just happened, but he thinks it's a nice change of pace from her usual behavior. Just then, the two of them are approached by a detective, and he says he is here to ask Harold a few questions. Harold is brought to an interrogation room where he is informed that he is suspected of assault and battery, but he knows he did no such thing, so he answers the detective's questions honestly and says he didn't do it. Unfortunately, Detective Brown is hell-bent on getting a confession out of Harold, so he leaves the room to talk to his partner. Ia is here as well because she wants to witness Harold's interrogation, and she doesn't understand why they are keeping him here like this when they have no evidence. They've already checked Harold's memory files, and there are no records of him assaulting anyone, so they have no right to keep interrogating him, but Brown says his memory files could have been altered, so it's still possible that he committed the crime. The victims also clearly reported that they were attacked by an android, but AA says that doesn't mean Harold is the perpetrator. Besides, there are programs installed in Harold's system that strictly forbid him from causing harm to a human, but Detective Brown brings up an old case of an android named Steven that lost control and attacked a human earlier this year. There are 3 versions of the androids: Steven, Harold, and Marvin. Steven is currently being held in an analysis. Pod and Marvin is just missing, so he is most likely damaged. That means the only android unaccounted for is Harold, so Detective Brown is sure that the culprit must have been him. Plus, the fact that Steven attacked a human means Harold should be capable of doing the same, since they are made from the same core program. Ia reminds Detective Brown that Harold works with her in the Cybercrime Investigation Department, but he says that doesn't matter because he has already been given permission to investigate Harold for as long as necessary. Exa asks to do a brain dive into the victim's head so she can prove Harold's innocence, but Harold is her partner, so Brown says it would be a conflict of interest if he let her do it. There's nothing more extra, dude, so she's forced to leave the interrogation room without Harold. She meets up with her co-worker, and Dara already heard about what happened with Harold, so she's really worried. It tells her she couldn't convince the detective to let Harold go, but she is sure that the allegations are false because Harold would never do something like that. Still, Daria is worried that Harold might get shut down because of this, but Ika swears that she won't let that happen later. That night, EA heads back to the investigation room, and Harold seems to be doing fine, but his situation hasn't gotten much better. He tells her that Brown is going to be transferring him to prison once he gets back, and he still refuses to believe that Harold is innocent. Aya tells him that Daria was really worried about him, so she's staying in a hotel nearby. Until this whole thing is sorted out, Aya says she can ask the cybercrime department chief to help him out a little, but Harold tells her she doesn't need to worry about him, so much Aya realizes Harold is oddly calm for someone who's about to be sent to prison. so she asks him if he knows something about the culprit of the crime. They don't have any definitive proof, but it's possible that the culprit could have been Marvin since he's still missing. It could also have been someone impersonating an android. But after thinking about it a little, she realizes that it'd be impossible for someone to pull off. Just then, Yuka receives a frantic call from Detective Brown. He demands to know where she is right. Now she tells him she's in the interrogation room with Harold, and after Brown gets there, he asks her if Harold was in here. The entire time, he was gone. Exa confirms this, but in case he doesn't trust her, Harold points to the underpaid intern who has been keeping an eye on him for the past few hours. Since Harold was really here the entire time, Brown realizes he has made a terrible mistake because while he was busy trying to get a confession from Harold, the real culprit attacked another person, and this time the unfortunate victim was Dwa. Dwa managed to survive, but she was badly injured. So she is still in a coma right now, but before she was attacked, she managed to send a message to Harold's watch, giving him permission to perform a brain dive on her. Meanwhile, Ika is in a meeting with all the department leaders, and the chairman is convinced that the attack on Daria must be related to the Pittsburgh incident that led to her husband San's death, but the others don't think there's any correlation. Moving on, the chief addresses Totoki and tells her that even if Harold wasn't the culprit of this incident, it will be a PR disaster once the public finds out that the android involved in solving this case is the same model as Steven, who attacked a human earlier this year, so he requests that Totoe immediately shut Harold down. That request is outrageous, so Shika is about to say something, but Totoki says she'll handle it. She then tells the chairman that he's out of his mind if he thinks she's going to shut Harold down when he hasn't done anything wrong. It's already been established that Harold is not a threat, and any threatening defects in his programming would have been found during their investigation. That may be true, but the chairman reminds everyone that Harold is the first of the latest generation of AI, so he is capable of thinking for himself and has free will to act as he pleases. However, Angus points out that the AI doesn't actually have free will. It's just a very complex program that mimics the idea of a soul, so there are still some things that the program cannot do. And as for the case with Steven, it was discovered that his system had been altered by a programmer named Elas. They think Elas was most likely involved in this incident as well, but be that as it may, they still want Harold to be shut down as a precautionary measure. Toliki still refuses, but Icha can't stay quiet any longer, so she tells them. The department can't afford to lose Harold. She can't 2 brain dives without him because he's the only one who can keep up with her. She has tried diving with human assistant, but they all ended up as vegetables. Getting rid of Harold would severely hinder the cybercrime department's functionality, so Harold simply cannot be disposed of. The chairman tries to argue, but Toy points out that their department can easily find clues that will lead them to the culprit, so she wants to have EA take over the investigation of the android assaults, and the best chance she has at finding a lead is to perform a brain dive on Daria so they can find out who did this to her. Daria is still in a coma, but she already gave her consent. Her vital are stable, so the doctor gives them the green light to begin. The brain dive, EA connects one cable between her and Daria and hands the other cable to Harold so the two of them can enter Daria's brain as Uka swims through the metaphorical ocean of memories. She spots Daria and she seems like she is in a lot of pain, so she needs to hurry and find the memories of the incident. Eventually, she locates the relevant memories, and as Daria was walking down an alleyway, she was confronted by a man in a hood. The man then stabs her in the stomach for no reason, and then runs away before Daria passed out. She got a good look in her attacker's face, and it looked exactly like Harold, but she could tell that it wasn't actually him. So at her last few moments of consciousness, she left a message for the real Harold and asked him to do a brain dive on her. They gotten all the information they need, so Harold pulls Exa out of the dive for Dara's safety. He asks the doctor for a status update on Dee's condition, and her heart rate spiked a little from the strain of the brain dive, but aside from that, she should be perfectly fine based on what they saw from Dua's memories. Shout is certain that the culprit was an android, and it stands to reason that the android in question would be Marvin, but Harold doesn't think that's the case. Marvin has a mole on his left cheek, but the attacker didn't have one, so it couldn't have been him. But then again, it's possible that Marvin could have covered up his mole before the attack. There's not much for them to go off right now, but they did find one major clue, because the knife the attacker used to stab Dura had a logo on the handle, and that logo will surely lead them to the identity of the attacker. The next day, Harold and EA are out looking for clues together when Harold receives word that Nikolai has just arrived in the city. EA asks him who Nikolai is, so he explains that Nikolai is Dwa's brother-in-law, and after he heard about the incident, he decided to come take care of her at the hospital until she wakes up. On an unrelated note, Harold wants to thank Exa because he heard that she stood up for him at the meeting when the chairman suggested shutting him down. Exa says she wasn't the only one who stuck up for him, since Totuki was also against the idea, but the fact that Ika was on his side makes Harold really happy. It shows that she cares about him, at least a little, so he asks her if she's finally warming up to him, even though he's an android, and while that may be true, she says this doesn't mean she likes him. Back on topic, the emblem they are tracking turned out to be the coat of arms of the Ailstone College, and the knife was a gift that is given to all graduating students. This means the Ailstone College is somehow related to the android attacks, and that means there's someone they have to go talk to first. The top researcher at Novel Robotics, and the person who practically single-handedly created the system from which all the androids were programmed, Lexi Willow Carter. This was the end of episode 1. Subscribe to not miss the next part. On a mysterious night, a demon appears speaking of a distant future and confronts Jinta. A gateway between eras opens, igniting a battle between the Edo period and the Heisei era. The story begins with a young girl suffered at the hands of her father. Her older brother, just a child himself, could only watch, helpless. The man dragged his daughter by the hair while she called out for Jinta, but all he could do was stand there, frozen in fear. She was locked away in a dark, lonely storage room. A single flower inside caught the dim light from a crack in the roof. A small sign of hope in her isolation, when she was finally let out, Jinta ran to the storage room during heavy rain, only to find that she had vanished panicked. He chased after her and found her standing on a bridge. Her bandage had slipped, revealing a red eye that looked almost unnatural. He felt guilty for not helping her, but she told him to stay quiet so he wouldn't get hurt too. But Jinta had enough. He was done living in fear that night with nothing but the clothes on their backs. The siblings ran away together. They wandered for days, finding shelter in an old, broken-down building to escape the cold rain. Jinta did his best to look after his sister, showing kindness at every turn, while she stayed strong despite everything they had been through. One night, just as he was about to drift off to sleep, a man appeared and offered them a place to stay. When Jinta woke up, he found himself being carried by the man. His sister, now rested and smiling, seemed at ease with him. The man helped Jinta stand, and together they walked toward a small village. He explained that this place was home to blacksmiths who forged katana. Soon they arrived at his house, where his daughter ran up to greet him excitedly. Jinta clutched his sister's hand tightly as the girl curiously asked who they were. Her father simply said they were children in need of a home, and that they would be part of their family now. Overjoyed, the girl introduced herself as Shirayuki. Jinta quickly gave his name, while his sister hesitated shyly before speaking. Shirayuki was eager to befriend them, her warmth almost overwhelming to the siblings who weren't used to such kindness. That night, as the man cleaned his katana, Jinta couldn't sleep watching him. He finally asked if he was a samurai. The man shook his head and explained that he was a sentinel, someone who protects what's important. Jinta listened closely, the glint of the blade catching his eye as the first light of dawn appeared. Meanwhile, Shuyaku had woken up early, carrying a bucket outside, while Jinta stayed inside practicing with a wooden stick. Later, Shuki took them to the river for a bath, where Suzanne met a girl her age. They held hands and jumped into the water together, laughing. Despite all they had been through, Jinta and Suzanne slowly started enjoying their new life by the afternoon. They were feeling more at home. During a playful moment, the new girl teased Shirayuki about always eating dango and how she should try some vegetables for a change, but Shirayuki just laughed, saying her mother made the best dango, right? Then the girl's mother called her, and she ran off excitedly to tell her about her fun day. Watching this, Jinta asked about Shirayuki's mother, Yokazi. He learned that it was Yokazi who had given permission for him and his sister to stay in the village, but he had never met her. She only lived in the shrine. Shirayuki explained that her mother was the Itsugui Tiki, a sacred priestess who could not interact with ordinary people. Only the village chief and her father, as the sentinel, could see her. It had been years since Shirayuki last saw her mother, something she deeply regretted, but instead of dwelling on it, she called her friends to continue their walk. 2 years passed. By 1833, Jinta was training every morning with the sword under the guidance of Majo, though the man always had a friendly smile. He never went easy on Jinta, knocking him down repeatedly to remind him. There was always room for improvement. After all, the only way to get stronger was to keep pushing forward. W. Jinta was well aware of his struggles, but no matter how much he trained, he felt stuck, as if he hadn't improved at all. This frustration weighed on him. Mataru, noticing his concerns, reassured him that progress wasn't always obvious, even if things seemed the same. Change was happening, little by little. With that, the training session ended and Mataru left to take care of other responsibilities. His daughter soon came running over, handing him his katana. Afterwards, Shiruki playfully patted Genta's head, teasing him about his loss. He wasn't amused and told her to stop joking around. She countered by saying she was just acting like an older sister, but Ginta quickly reminded her that he was the older one. Shirayuki, however, argued that she was the more mature of the two, making her the real big sister in spirit. Before the conversation could continue, Suzanne appeared, rubbing her eyes after just waking up for some reason. Ginta looked completely fluff. Ed Shirayuki seemed to understand, but simply smiled and invited him to have breakfast with his sister. Years passed, and Ginta found himself in a formal meeting. A woman acknowledged his exceptional demon hunting abilities, but he simply saw it as fulfilling his role as the village's sentinel. The discussion shifted to the latest demon encounter. Ginta revealed that this time the creature had disguised itself as a human to infiltrate Kano village unnoticed. This revelation caused immediate concern. Someone pointed out that such an incident might be connected to the fate of the village princess. Legends said that demons who already lived for centuries could achieve true immortality by consuming the flesh of a Namo. Another attendee dismissed it as mere folklore, but others weren't so sure. The previous Ituki Yokaze had fallen victim to a demon, and the beast was only defeated because Mataru sacrificed himself. The mysterious woman present speculated that the demons were now targeting Yara. The sacred sword passed down through generations of its mason. The weapon, crafted using the finest techniques, had remained flawless for over 100 years, making it a prize worth coveting. Despite the growing concern, Kumasai, the son of one of the men present, dismissed the threat. He believed there was no reason to worry. Since the Itsukiheim had two sentinels protecting her, he took the opportunity to jab at Ginta, calling him a braggart who thought was some kind of legendary warrior just because he carried a sword. Ginta shot him a glare, but before things could escalate, the veiled woman reminded them that this was not the place for petty argument. Hayase himself was also a sentinel, and such behavior was beneath them. With that, the meeting was adjourned and everyone left except for Ginta and the mysterious woman once the others were gone. She removed her veil, revealing her face without hesitation. She admitted how much she disliked the formalities she had to follow whenever they met. Ginta, now more relaxed, addressed her by her real name, Shuki. She smiled and told him she would try not to rely on him so much anymore. Ginta was confused by her words. Protecting the Itsuki Hima was a sentinel's duty. After all, blushing slightly, Shirayuki mentioned that Sujuna had come to visit and suggested Ginta go see for himself. He moved the barrier to peek inside and saw his younger sister sleeping peacefully. He was immediately concerned. This was a sacred place and outsiders weren't supposed to be here. If she was caught, she could be accused of blasphemy. Shirayuki, however, didn't seem worried to her. Suzune had only come to see her brother, who was rarely home because of his duties. Ginta agreed that it was unfortunate, but he still wasn't comfortable breaking the rules gently. He woke his sister smiling as he reminded her that the shrine was off limits to her. As the meeting wraps up, Ginta heads toward the forest to carry out his duty as a sentinel. Just as he's about to leave, Kiesa calls out to him, but Ginta ignores him. Frustrated, Kiesa grabs him roughly, demanding to know what's going through his mind. He's just learned that Ginta knows about his upcoming marriage to Bukia, and he wants an honest answer. But Ginta, keeping his emotions locked away, simply says he's happy if the princess is happy and if the village remains at peace. Kumasa isn't fooled. He knows Ginta loves her, but without any real response from his rival, there's nothing left to argue about stepping into the forbidden forest. Ginta quickly finds himself in danger. A sudden attack nearly takes him out his opponent, clearly believing they'd caught him off guard, but Ginta reacts fast, dodging just in time. He had expected the demon to have backup, but the creature tells him that his partner is busy handling something back in Kano. With no choice but to fight, Ginta engages in hand-to-hand combat, managing to land a strike on the demon's shoulder with his katana. However, its skin is too tough and the blade doesn't cut through. The demon counters with a brutal swing, and though Ginta avoids the full impact, he still takes a hit, leaving a deep gash across his face. Blood trickles down, but he doesn't falter. Instead, he uses the opening to throw a powerful kick, creating just enough distance to launch another attack. This time, his blade strikes true, slicing clean through the demon's arm. The creature roars in pain, but remains standing unfazed with only one arm left. It attempts another attack, but Ginta barely manages to evade. The ground is now stained red from the demon's severed limb, yet it simply picks up its lost arm, grinning rather than panicking. The beast seems amused, enjoying the fight as much as it had hoped. The demon takes a moment to reflect, commenting on the difference between humans and demons. While demons can live for centuries, humans only get a short time, but they pass down their skills and dreams defying time itself. It's something the demon finds intriguing, then turning its attention back to Genta. It wonders why he fights so fiercely. What's his true goal in wielding a sword without hesitation? Genta makes his stance clear. He fights for his people, for those he swore to protect. Anyone who threatens that will meet the sharp edge of his blade. Meanwhile, back in Kano, trouble is brewing. A demon has entered Susan's home and asks her a strange question. Does she know what she really is? Susan, caught off guard, answers that the creature before her is obviously a demon, but the intruder smirks and reveals something shocking. She too is a demon. The words shake her, but there's no time for an explanation. The demon's gaze shifts to the clothes. Suzune clings to Genta's clothes. It assumes that her deep love for her brother is what keeps her feeling human, and it's clear that Genta must be a strong protector to inspire such devotion. Suzune, despite her confusion, feels warmth. At the mention of her brother, she eagerly moves closer to the demon, confirming that Genta means everything to her. But then the creature kneels, speaking in a softer tone. There's someone out there who wants to hurt Genta. It says if Suzune truly cares for her brother, she should use her hidden power to help him. Suzune asks about the powers the demon mentioned, but instead of explaining, the creature simply tells her to follow along, assuring her that demons never lie. It promises that no harm will come to her. But Suzune isn't convinced. Even if the demon won't hurt her, it could still hurt her brother, and she refuses to take that risk. Seeing her hesitation, the demon touches her forehead, triggering a vision in her mind. Suddenly, Suzune sees something shocking. Yuki and Kiyasa together in an intimate moment. Disgusted and overwhelmed by the strange magic, she recoils. The demon tells her that she has the ability to share visions of the future, though Suzune refuses to believe what she just saw. The creature urges her to come and see for herself, and this time Suzune hesitantly reaches out to the demon. Meanwhile, Genta is locked in a fierce battle, though he managed to land a solid hit earlier. The fight has shifted in the demon's favor. After a brief pause, Genta demands to know why the demon is attacking humans. The creature responds that demons exist for a purpose, and its purpose lies in this place, no matter how much it may want to change its fate. Fighting against its nature is impossible. Hearing this, Genta makes it clear that he will show no mercy. The demon acknowledges that this is the smartest decision. After all, allowing a monster capable of consuming other demons and growing stronger to roam free would be foolish. With that, the creature's right arm suddenly swells to 3 times its size. A single punch from this monstrous limb is enough to rip Genta's arm clean off. Despite the excruciating pain, Genta refuses to back down. He tries to continue his attack, but the demon bites down on his blade, snapping it in half. Panic fills Genta's eyes, but pure instinct takes over. He snatches the broken blade mid-air and drives it deep into the demon's chest, bringing the beast crashing to the ground, weakened and unable to rise. The demon admits that its mission is complete. It reveals that its companion has the power to see the future and has witnessed something terrifying. 170 years from now, a powerful deity ruling over demons will arrive in Kano that vision LED them to this village, where they discover the most promising being of their kind. That is why the demon came here in the first place. Gent's heart sinks as he realizes the demon is talking about his sister. Before he can react, the creature pulls a final trick. It uses its severed arm to grab him, catching him off guard, recalling Genta's earlier words about protecting his loved ones. The demon asks what he would do if one of those people no longer deserved his protection. If that day ever comes, who will he strike down back in the village? Kiyasa takes advantage of the peaceful moment to spend time with his soon-to-be wife, but Shiryuki can't shake her worry about Genta, who is still in the taboo forest. Annoyed, Kiyomasa remarks that she must be wondering if Genta can hear what they're doing. The comment stings, and Shiryuki remembers a time when Genta stood by her side, hand in hand, promising to follow the path of Maharu. With that memory fresh in her mind, she sheds a tear, but reminds herself that she made this choice for Ku's safety, determined to follow through with her decision. She slowly removes her ceremonial attire and moves closer to Kiyasa, who steps back, startled by her sudden change in behavior, yet Shiryuki gently holds his face and kisses him. At that moment, the demon pro proves to Suzune that the vision was real, because now Suzune is watching it unfold right before her eyes. Meanwhile, Genta forces himself to stand, muttering that he isn't dead yet. Looking around, he realizes the demon has vanished. Without wasting another second, He sprints toward the village, desperate to protect his sister, but as he reaches the outskirts, he sees flames rising in the distance. Kano is burning. Despite the devastation, he pushes forward, knowing he must reach Suzumi before it's too late. Back at the demon's hideout, Suzan demands answers from Shidayuki. She had always believed the princess truly loved her brother. She had done everything she could to keep Genta by her side, so why had things turned out like this? Visions of her brother running through the burning city flashed through Suzan's mind. The betrayal she just witnessed was the final straw. She had always adored Genta. So much so that she held herself back, never growing up fully, just so she could always be his little sister. But now, Shirayuki had shattered everything. The princess, despite her regret, stood firm in her decision. The only way to honor Ku's legacy was to take on this new role, even if it meant betraying Genta's love. Suzune couldn't accept that to her, Shirayuki had stolen the one thing she had always dreamed of and thrown it away for the sake of strangers. Overwhelmed with grief and fury, the child's body trembled, the pain twisted inside her, and in a moment of sheer wrath, she ripped off the bandage covering her right eye. What lay beneath wasn't human anymore. A dark energy pulsed from the demon's presence within her, and her posture shifted unnaturally as the transformation took hold. The princess tried to reason with her, but Suzune had heard enough. The demon's voice whispered in her ear, feeding her anger. Genta had given everything for a woman who had so easily abandoned him. Wasn't it only fair to make her pay for it? The thought took hold, and before she even realized it, darkness filled the room. The power within her lashed out, knocking the human couple to the ground. Kumasa moved first, scrambling to grab the sacred sword Yurai, but the more experienced demon intervened, sending him flying across the room. The blade tumbled from his grasp, landing right at Susan's feet. Her mentor's voice echoed in her mind, suggesting that Shirayuki would be honored to die by the sword. Her people had worshipped for generations without hesitation. The demon carried Kiyomasa away, leaving Suzune and the princess alone. A wicked grin spread across Suze's face as she picked up the blade. This was going to be fun. Genta finally arrived, breathless and desperate. He rushed to Shirayuki, pulling her into a tight embrace, but it was already too late, just as he held her close. Her head separated from her body, Suzune stood before him, holding the severed head in her hands, her eyes gleaming with twisted joy. She welcomed her brother home, delighted to see him again. Genta's mind shattered. Memories of the woman he had loved flooded his thoughts, playing like a cruel film before his eyes, but his sister wasn't done laughing. She plunged the sacred blade into Shirayuki's body over and over again, each stab a mockery of everything he had fought to protect, consumed by rage and disbelief. Genta raised his sword and swung at Suzune, but she was too fast, dodging effortlessly. She shifted between the innocent little girl he had always known and the monstrous being she had become. Genta hesitated. Was this truly still his sister? Why had she done this? But Suzune simply tilted her head, confused by his sadness. She had done this for him. Shirayuki had betrayed him, so she had taken care of it. Wasn't that what he wanted with the bright childlike smile? She suggested they go home now. After all, she had spent so much energy fixing everything for him. But Genta couldn't answer. He could barely breathe. His world had been destroyed and the sister he once knew was gone forever. Genta couldn't believe what Suzune had done. She turned her back on the people who raised them, the ones who treated them like family, and now, after killing Shirayuki, all she could think about was how tired she was, wanting to go home, like nothing had happened. That's when it hit him. His little sister wasn't there anymore. The Suzune he once knew was gone. The weight of that truth crushed him, and for a moment, madness took over. He swung his blade at her, but even as he did, there was no real conviction behind it. His hands trembled, his mind spiraled. What was he even fighting for anymore? His laugh came out bitter and broken, full of despair. Everything he ever cared about had slipped away, but then, as his arm throbbed with an unnatural energy, a new thought took root. Hatred. If nothing else, he still had that hatred for everything and everyone. Suen panicked, scrambling to explain. She didn't mean to do anything wrong. She only killed Shiryuki because she thought it was what Genta wanted. He cut her off coldly. She finally understood her brother was leaving her too, just like everyone else. He was supposed to be different. He was supposed to stay. If he was really going to abandon her, then what was the point of anything? She snapped, power surged through her, wild and uncontrollable. The shrine trembled under the force of her rage as she fired blasts of dark energy in every direction. Then, in a final act of madness, she lunged at Genta, her hands stabbing deep into his stomach. But when she tried to pull away, she couldn't. Genta had done it on purpose, locking his muscles to trap her in place. His grip tightened, and he raised his arm of memory flickered. Susan, back when she was just a little girl, pressing her forehead against his, trusting him completely. But this time, there was no kindness. His fist came down with all the strength he had, smashing into her without mercy. Then another blow, even stronger than the first. But before he could finish, the demon that had corrupted Susan stepped in, taking the full impact to protect her. Blood dripped from the creature's lips, yet it still managed to smile. Susan staggered to her feet, heading toward the exit of the shrine. She turned back one last time. She didn't care about anything anymore. If the world had taken everything from her, then she'd return the favor. She would tear everything down, people, kingdoms, the entire world, and one day, she would come back. That she promised. Then she was gone. The demon, even in its dying moments, laughed. Its mission was complete when Genta, still seething, demanded to know why it answered without hesitation. It had seen the future. The world would change. The light of men would push away the darkness, and demons would fade into mere legends. But now, thanks to Susan, their existence would never be forgotten. With its final words, the demon crumbled into dust, and as if mourning the tragedy, the sky opened up and rain began to fall. Over Kano village, Genta stood there, holding Shiryuki's lifeless body, the weight of failure pressing down on him all those years. All those promises, it had all led to this. His duty as a sentinel had ended, and he had failed as the rain poured drowning out. All other sounds, he let out a cry of pure anguish by dawn. Kano was nothing but ruins. He sat outside, tying his sandals, his mind fogged with memories of happier days, his family laughing together in the yard. But that was long gone. The village chief was waiting for him. Genta didn't hesitate. He told the man he was leaving. He had no home here anymore. There was only one path left to prepare for the battle ahead. One day the demon god would return, and when that time came, he would be ready. The chief hesitated, then asked a simple question. Was he really going to let his anger drive him to kill his own sister, or was there still something else left in his heart? Genta admitted that Suzanne was his little sister, someone he had always cared for, but he had also loved Shiryuki, and losing her like that, helpless. Unable to do anything was unbearable. A dark voice whispered inside him, pushing him toward revenge. He wanted to silence it, to stop himself from falling completely into hatred. If there was even the slightest chance of ending this without more bloodshed, he wanted to take it. The village chief, watching him closely, had expected him to fully embrace the path of a demon, but seeing that Genta still held on to some part of his old self gave the old man a bit of hope. Without another word, the chief handed him the Ui, the sacred sword. He asked Genta to draw it the moment he did. The chief announced that from now on, Genta would no longer be just a warrior. He was the new bearer of the legendary blade. With that came a change not just in status, but in name. From this day forward, he would be known as Guinea. Guinea didn't feel like he deserved such an honor, but the village leader reminded him that the noble line of Itsuzi Heim was gone. If the sword remained untouched, it would just gather dust in the shrine, forgotten. At least now, in the hands of a sentinel, it would serve a purpose, and maybe, just maybe, Shiryuki's soul could finally rest in peace. The old chief then knelt before him, his voice filled with regret. He had known all along how deeply Kini loved Shiryuki, but he had also known Kiyomasa's feelings for her. Though their marriage was meant to strengthen Kino, the truth was it had been arranged for the happiness of the chief's son, Gwyn. Despite everything, didn't hold a grudge. Instead, he reassured the chief, easing the weight of guilt. The man had carried for so long. Before parting ways, the chief made one final request. If Guinea ever returned to Kano, he should build a shrine in his honor. A place to remember the warrior. He had become a reminder that even though people in villages may not last as long as demons, their actions could outlive them. This shrine would be called the Genta Shrine, just as he was preparing to leave. Chitos appeared to her. Genta hadn't changed. He was still the person she had always known, with a small smile. He promised to come back one day and told her to save some Isoka for him when that time came, as he stepped into the unknown. The sun burned against his skin, forcing him to shield his eyes for the first time. He understood why demons clung so fiercely to their purpose, but he kept that realization to himself. Time passed 170 years in eternity for some, a fleeting moment for others. He finally arrived at another shrine, where Amo stood deep in thought to her. The past had always felt distant, something that had no real connection to her life. But the sorrow in this man's eyes told a different story, and soon she would come to understand the long and painful journey he had endured for all those years. That's the end of the first episode. Subscribe to our channel for upcoming episodes. We move to the year 1850 in the city of Suya, where there was a man named Zenji who was the deputy leader of the village. Later, Zenji went to the chief and Ginta during their first meeting. Zenji asked the chief if this was the man. The chief replied, "Of course it is," and told him to continue with him and inform him of everything. Then the chief left them. Zenji asked Ginta if the chief told him everything, and Ginta said that the chief informed him he had a daughter and that a devil wanted to kidnap her. Zenji replied, "But that's not everything," telling him that the chief's daughter was 13 years old and named Natsu, and that the chief spoiled her a lot last night. Natsu saw a devil outside her window who was about to kidnap her, and she heard the devil saying, "Return my daughter," which surprised Ginta. Zenji explained that the devil had a daughter who resembled Natsu, so he wanted to kidnap her after that. Natsu came calling for Zenji, warning him that if he didn't stop being lazy, she would tell her father, the chief, when she met Ginta. She asked him if he was the one who came to protect her. She told him to leave immediately because he looked too young. Zenji said, "Let's not rush." But Natsu insisted he shouldn't stay because she thought he was useless and only came here for money and to escape afterwards, and this was a good opportunity for him. Zenji responded to Natsu that her father was the one who chose him, so he thought he was skilled. Natsu asked Zenji to be quiet and expressed her dislike for the idea of having a samurai without a master as a personal guard, stating that they would not pay him anything, understood, and she told him to leave from where he came. Zenji remarked to Ginta that they were an embarrassing family and not social at all, and he apologized to Ginta. We moved to Natsu's room that night, where Zenji came to her, surprising Natsu. She asked him why he was there. Zenji replied that since she had dismissed the new guard, he had to come to protect her in his place to ensure she wouldn't come to any harm. Natsu said she was betting that he thought she was lying about everything, and she added that even her father didn't believe her, otherwise she wouldn't have hired a suspicious samurai. That's very clear. She said Zenji believed she was wrong about her father, as he felt the chief cared for her deeply and always put her first. Natsu protested that she was not his real daughter. She then heard the devil's voice and started to hurt, asking Zenji for help. Zenji became worried about Natsu and asked her what was wrong. The devil then appeared in front of Zenji and began to approach him, repeating, "Return my daughter." When he tried to grab Zenji, his hands were cut off by a blow from Ginta. Ginta then asked the devil for his name, but the devil kept saying, "Return my daughter." Ginta landed another blow that completely finished. The devil then asked Natsu what money he deserved for his expertise. Natsu asked Ginta if the devil was dead. Ginta replied that when a devil dies, white smoke appears, and that was the way he saw a devil die, warning them that it would come back again. Morning arrived, and Ginta and Zenji went to Zenji's house, where Zenji thanked Ginta for saving him. He told him, "You warned me that the devil would come back again, so I asked you to stay with us tonight." Ginta agreed, but asked to know more about Natsu because he was curious about what the devil said that he wanted. His daughter, Zenji, explained that Natsu was not the chief's daughter, but rather the daughter of a man and a woman from the chief's family, but both had died, and he thought Ginta was worried. However, she wasn't from a devil lineage, because if she were, the chief wouldn't have adopted her. He told him that the chief's wife was killed by a devil, and their son ran away and never returned, while the chief blamed devils for the complete ruin of his family, so why would he care for Natsu if she were from a devil lineage? We moved to Natsu, and the chief, as they had their dinner at night, the chief asked Natsu if everything was fine with the new guards. Natsu replied that everything was fine and thanked him for caring about her. The chief said that any good father would do that for his daughter. Natsu asked her father why he had appointed this guard. The chief explained that in recent days there had been some devils roaming around Edo, but at the same time there were rumors about a man who faced the devil and killed him with one blow. Natsu asked if he meant the samurai, and the chief confirmed that, yes, he would kill any devil as long as he was paid, and that he had chosen him because he trusted him, thinking it was the best choice to make him her personal guard. Natsu then said, "So you believed me about this devil?" We moved to the morning in front of Natsu's room as she told herself that scary stories come in many forms, from direct tales to folk stories, but they never really disappear. Afterward, she remembered when they were talking about the servant in the chief's house, about the kidnapping of his son and the death of his wife because of devils, and that he had adopted a girl while waiting for his son's return, which led to her feeling uneasy. We moved to Natsu's room, where she felt scared. And then she opened her room door and asked Zenji why he was there. Zenji replied that he was waiting for his chance to shine and make up for yesterday's opportunity. Natsu told him she didn't care about any of that. Zenji told her there was no place in her heart to forgive him. Natsu said she might forgive him if he took her to a nice place for entertainment. Zenji said okay, and he would take her to a wonderful place. Natsu asked Ginta about his name and said that her father trusted him a lot, and she believed she could trust him too. Ginta responded, "You love your father so much, Natsu." Natsu replied, "Of course he adopted me and gave me a house all to myself. Why wouldn't I love him?" Ginta remarked that it was a happy little family and added, "No, I think the chief cares for you a lot." Which made a smile appear on Natsu's face. Ginta then said concerning the chief's lost daughter, but Natsu interrupted Ginta, saying she didn't know anything about her and felt angry Ginta thought he had touched. A nerve. Natsu asked if it were possible for a devil and a human to have a child together. Ginta replied, "Of course," Natsu said, "so I might belong to that devil." Who shows up? Ginta told Natsu that this devil was not her. Father Natsu asked how he could know that. Ginta explained that he knew who this devil was, and they had an old history together, so he was sure he didn't father her without a doubt. Natsu asked Ginta if that was really true. He assured her that he wasn't lying, and then asked Zenji if he knew how devils are born. Zenji said it was very clear that they come from their parents like everyone else, or was his information wrong? Ginta clarified that there were many ways for devils to be born. He told them there was a time for two devils to come together to have a child, which is the normal way. Another way is after a devil violates humans for pleasure, and as a result, some devils are born from nothing. He explained that through pure emotions, especially dark emotions like bitterness, anger, jealousy, sadness, and obsession, those feelings seep deeply into people, coagulating until they take a solid form. He explained that devils born from nothing are emotions in flesh. While he was talking, Nacho felt scared, and the devil appeared again. Ginta approached the devil and began to ask, "What is your name?" He landed several blows on the devil, knocking him down, and asked Natsu, "Do you want me to kill him?" He told her that her emotions were what allowed him to appear to her, and he was there in response to your desires, to create chaos, which in turn made your father focus his attention on you. He reminded her that she had wanted to be treated like a real daughter, and suddenly she was under attack from this devil by saying the words no one wanted to hear, because that was exactly what she wished for. Wasn't it Natsu begged him to stop feeling pain and told herself that was why this ugly devil seemed really strange? Ginta warned that this devil would come back shortly after he killed him, and that he wouldn't disappear forever until she mastered her emotions. Natsu asked Ginta, "But how can I do that? I don't even know how." Ginta told her that the matter was quite simple. "Just ask me to kill him." Natsu thought to herself that she had ignored the things she didn't want to see and kept her fear of weakness. All she wanted was to be loved by someone. But she couldn't believe he felt that way. She started to imagine that her father might come to her and truly appreciate her. If a demon attacked her claiming she was a queen, her heart was filled with those ugly feelings, and now they had become real. That demon was her, and the person who needed to be killed was also her. Zengi said that the only thing that needed to be killed was the demon, not her. If this demon was created from Natsu's feelings, that didn't matter. He took Natsu's hand and said to her to trust him, because he knew everything about her and the leader. He told her they cared for each other, and that the leader loved her as a true daughter. However, neither of them knew how to communicate or show their feelings to each other, so she had to start facing him and talk honestly, like a real family. Would Natsu asked Ginta to kill the demon. After that, Ginta stood before the demon, prepared for it, and attacked with a strong blow that split the monster in half. Zengi asked after seeing the white smoke, "Did he die this time?" Ginta replied, "Of course he died." Afterward, Natsu went to sleep, and Ginta waited outside her room. The demon appeared again and told himself that he suspected this. He stated that this demon didn't only appear because of Natsu's feelings, but there were other princesses in this land who could have become demons. He remembered Zengi's words about her being the leader's wife, who was killed by the demon. which was why the demon said he wanted to return to his wife. The daughter he spoke of was the one born to the leader's wife, who was Suzune. Ginta said he never imagined this would be the way they would meet. He told the demon that he had clear memories of him and asked him once again to tell him his name. But the demon didn't tell him anything and echoed back, "Return, my daughter." Ginta said people should live in the present and not be trapped in the future. "So, I ask you to rest in peace." And he killed him, causing the white smoke to rise from him. Once again, Genta went to Zingi's house. Zingi said to him, "We thank you for what you've done for us." Natsu tried to thank him, but told him she would try to be better in matters, though she would need some time to get used to it. And she thanked him. Ginta said, "Don't thank me." And he mentioned that he had received his reward at work. He told her it wasn't a job for him, but paying off a debt. He told her that living until a certain age doesn't necessarily make them adults, but spending a lot of time can give one a strong perspective. He told her that when he was young, his world was completely defined by what he saw, and he knew it was wrong to cause harm. Recalling what happened with his sister and father, he told her that things could be hidden under the surface of our actions, and he was too young to realize that at that time he had nothing but escape, so he wanted to atone for that. Natsu said she didn't know anything about what he was saying. Ginta responded that she should show kindness to her father as he shows it to her. That's basically everything Natsu told Ginta. "I don't need you to tell me this." He said he was leaving and went away. Later, the leader joined Zingi and Natsu and asked, "Did Ginta leave?" Zingi replied, "Of course he left, but you should have come to say goodbye with us, leader." The leader said he didn't see that as very important because he knew from the first glance that Ginta would complete this mission. Zingi said Natsu said this too, but you trusted him a lot. Was there a reason for that trust? The leader told Zingi not to ask stupid questions. He said any father who respects himself trusts his son. Well, he then told Zingi that he needed to go to work, otherwise he would have his pay deducted. Zingi said he didn't want that and would go immediately. Natsu asked her father, "Is there anything I can help you with?" The leader said, "What happened to you? What is this change?" Natsu replied, "They asked me to return the kindness you showed me," the leader told her. "That's very kind of you, but you shouldn't worry about anything from now on." He told her that the best way for children to repay their father's kindness is by living a long life, and that's all he wanted, to be happy. Wang, an ordinary boy, acquires the superpower cube system and gains unbelievable abilities. But when the girl he loves is kidnapped into a supernatural world, he embarks on a mission to rescue her and rise to become the strongest in this extraordinary universe. The anime begins with Shenyao's phone rings. As soon as she answers, a man on the other end warns her that someone is coming for her. All of a sudden, Shenyao is surrounded by 4 men in suits, and these guys don't seem like they are here to give her candy. So Shenyao gets up and runs straight for the door, but there's an agent blocking her path, so she is forced to run down the corridor. Instead, she eventually finds a closet, so she opens the door and locks herself inside to escape the agents. But now she's got nowhere to go. The agents start trying to break down the door, and Shenyao is terrified, but just when things look hopeless, the man who called to warn her tells her to turn around behind her. There is a blob of yellow energy floating, and from it, a hand reaches out to grab her, so Shenyao closes her eyes and waits for the inevitable. By the time the agents have broken the door down, Shenyao is long gone. She was taken by Wang, and he's the guide who called to warn her about the agents, so he is currently trying to get her as far away from them as possible, so he is hitting every Parker move in the book. However, the agents have a secret weapon to counter Wang's Parker, a gun. Wang gets shot out of the air, and he's mostly unharmed, but he won't be able to get away from the agents like this. So he puts Shenyao down and sets up a barrier to protect her. While he prepares for a fight, he jumps off the ledge, and as soon as he lands, is one of the agents with a punch that definitely made him start smelling sound. Another agent runs up to attack him, so Wang punches him away, while also fending off 2 other agents. Eventually, one of them manages to tackle Wang, and now that he's got him, he drives Wang into the air. After a brief scuffle mid-air, the man manages to slam Wang into a building with the help of his 3 allies. But when the dust settles, all 3 allies have been knocked out. Wang, on the other hand, is perfectly fine, but I'm sure at least 10 innocent people just died in that building. Wang still has an agent confronting him, so he floats back out of the building and takes off his coat because things are about to get serious. The agent is tired of wasting time, so he decides to go all out and picks up a second building to use as a projectile. The people in that building probably wish they called in sick for work today, as the agent throws the building at Wang, but without even breaking a sweat, Wang catches. The building, with his powers, breaks it apart and throws the blocks back at the agent. The agent tries to defend himself, but Wong simply compressed all the blocks until a massive explosion occurs that sends Wong and the agent to a mirrored version of the world. Wong is annoyed that things turned out like this because it's going to cause a lot of trouble for him, but he still has to deal with the agent first. The agent pulls out his gun and aims it at Wong, and I'm not sure what he thinks a gun is going to do when Wong just caught a building a minute ago, but none of it matters because the gun doesn't work in this dimension and Wong is out of time. Anyway, the yellow energy begins to surround Wong, and as it does, it knocks the agent backward into the water. Time then begins to rewind, and Wong hopes that things can turn out differently in the next loop. Eventually, everything goes back to normal, and Shen Yao wakes up back at her desk in the library. She has no recollection of what just happened, and she finds a young Wang standing next to her and asking for help because he doesn't understand his math homework years. Go by, and now everyone is at a high school mixer. They are playing Jenga, and it's Shen Yao's turn to make a move, but when she locks eyes with Wong, she gets flustered and messes up as part of the game. Anyone who topples the tower is required to reveal a secret, so the group asks Shen Yao to tell them who her crush is. Wong starts smiling as soon as he hears this, so his classmates start teasing him, because there's no way Shen Yao could possibly like a plain-looking NPC like him. But to everyone's surprise, including Wong, Shen Yao admits that she really does like him, and she makes it very clear that she's not joking, because she has liked him ever since the day they met in middle school. Wag is too stunned because having Shen Yao confess to him is like a dream come true. Normally, this would have been the happiest day of his life, but right after the mixer ended, he got kidnapped and is currently being beaten to a pulp down by the river. Wang has never met any of these people in his life, but their boss, Sunjin, happens to have a crush on Shen Yao, and after learning that Shen Yao likes Wan, rather than just taking the L and moving on, he decided to drag Wang down to the river and have his underlings threaten to kill him. Wang recognizes Sunjin as the leader of a notorious gang, and he also recalls hearing that Sunjin would constantly harass Shen Yao, so he realizes what's going on here, but there's nothing he can do against this many opponents Sunjin. Then, video calls Shen Yao from Wang's phone and tells her to have a look at the pitiful state of her crush Shen. Yao is horrified to see what Sunjin has done to Wang, so Wang yells for Sunjin to leave her out of this because he doesn't want her to worry about him. But Sunjin is intent on making Shen Yao watch Wang's humiliation. He tells Wang that he is a total loser and that he has no right to date someone as perfect as Shen Yao. He then orders Wang to swear that he will never get involved with Shen Yao again otherwise. Sunjin says he's going to drop him in the river now. Wang could take the easy way out and swear that he won't talk to Shen Yao again. But Wang would never betray her like that. So instead, he headbutts the guy holding him to Wang's credit. That was a really solid headbutt, but unfortunately for him, it was so solid that the guy holding him accidentally let go, so Wang ends up falling into the river. Sunjin starts panicking because he never actually planned to kill Wang. He just wanted to scare him a little so he wouldn't steal Shen Yao from him. He frantically calls out for Wang to see if he's all right, but no one answers, so Wang is probably dead. That means Sunjin has just committed murder and he let Shen Yao witness the entire thing. Meanwhile, inside the water, Wang is currently drowning, but he doesn't bother trying to save himself because if he can't protect the one that he loves, then there's no point in being alive. As his life flashes before his eyes, Wang has a vision of his childhood. He had just run away from a fight, and by middle school standards, that instantly destroyed all the popularity he used to have. And to really rub it in, he overhears two girls talking about how much of a crybaby they think he is. Hours went by, and as the school day ended, everyone went home, but Wang stayed behind and continued to sulk. Eventually, Shen Yao walks out of the gate, but she stops as soon as she notices Wang sitting by the gate. So she asks him what's wrong. Wang remains silent, so Shen Yao assumes he must have forgotten his umbrella and offers to share hers with him so they can walk home together. Wang refuses her offer and says he can walk home by himself, but Shen Yao reminds him that it's still raining and he doesn't have an umbrella, so he's going to get soaked. Wang realizes she's right, but he says he can just wait here until the rain stops. Shen Yao thinks Wang is really funny, but then she notices a cut on his arm. So she asks him to let her see it. Wang initially refuses, but Shen Yao says she just wants to help dress the wound. Wang eventually agrees, so Shen Yao puts a bandage on his arm and blows a kiss onto it to make it heal faster, and at that very moment, Wang had already imagined the next 50 years of his life with Shen Yao. He thanks her for her help, and from that moment forward, the two of them were practically inseparable. Back to the present. Wang wakes up in the water, and he notices a light coming from the bottom of the river. He has already sunk too far down for him to make it back to the surface before he drowns, so he decides to commit to it and swims down to check out the light before he dies once he gets to the bottom. He finds a little glowing cube there, so he picks it up, and before he even realizes what's going on, the cube activates and goes inside him all of a sudden. Wang feels immense pain throughout his body, and a few moments later he is teleported out of the water and starts traveling through a wormhole that lands him in the middle of a cube. When Wang wakes up, he starts panicking because he was drowning a second ago. He is relieved to be alive, but now he has no idea where he is or how he got here, for that matter. Just then, a system appears in front of him and announces that Wall has the power to draw a 15m radius around himself, and within that area, he is allowed to teleport to any location instantly. None of that makes any sense to Wang, since he doesn't believe teleportation is real, but in the next moment, he gets teleported against his will. He appears into the sky above the canal, and Wang starts freaking out again because he is really high up and he's worried he might fall to his doom, but he's actually floating, so he's safe once he calms down. He looks at the ground and realizes that Sunjin is desperately searching for him in the water because he's worried that he might have killed Wang, and he finds it kind of amusing. But a few seconds later, he gets teleported to a new location. Sunjin gets the feeling that someone was just watching him from the sky, so he asks his subordinates if they heard anything just now, but they think Sunjin must have just been hallucinating, so he tells them to keep looking for Wan. Meanwhile, Wang ended up being teleported into an empty classroom in his school. He is now sure that he really can teleport, but he doesn't understand how he got this power. Suddenly, the system speaks up and tells Huan that he has just continuously activated his teleportation ability. Wang starts freaking out and worries that he might be going crazy since he is hearing voices in his head, but the system corrects him because it is actually in Wang's body, not his head. That's still not very comforting, so Wang tells it to get out of his body, but the system ignores him and warns that someone is approaching. There is a staff member walking towards the classroom because he heard a weird noise coming from inside, but as he opens the door, all he sees is an empty classroom with a puddle of water on the floor. Wang ended up making it back to his house, so he decided to take a shower to relax. Once he's done with his shower, he pulls out his phone and somehow it still works, even though it was at the bottom of the river with him. The first thing he does is call Shen Yao to let her know that he's alive, and as soon as Shen Yao answers, she starts frantically asking him if he's all right. He tells her he is fine, but she thinks Sun Jun went way too far, so she asks Wang if they should report him to the police. Honestly, Shen Yao should have called the cops the moment she saw Wang fall off the bridge, but Wang tells her there's no need, he managed to get away without Sun Jun spotting him. So right now, he's probably still searching the river for Wang's body and worrying about all the potential jail time he could get anyway. A lot of stuff happened today, so Wang tells her to get some rest for today and hangs up. He then lays down in his bed and wonders what he's going to do about his system because no one would believe him even if he told them all of a sudden. The system shows up again and asks if Wang has calmed down, yet Wang asks it why. It keeps following him around, but the system reminds him that it is a part of his body now, so Wang can't get away from it. The system then activates the cube, and Wang is sucked into it. Once again, the system explains that it has established a connection with Wang's body, so in other words, Wang is stuck with it forever. That makes him the user of the Heradra Cube Universal System, and by extension, the master of the system. Wang still doesn't fully understand, so he asks the system where he is. So it explains that this is a macro space within the cube, and even though the cube is only 3Cs big, it has a lot more space on the inside. Y knows the system is telling the truth, so he asks it why it bother helping someone like him, and the system tells him it's because it wants to make his dream come true, and that dream is to become the king of the world. This was the end of episode. One subscribe to not miss the next. Then we see Wang training to teleport using the power cube. He asks the system to continue training, but the system informs him that his energy is depleted. From now on, training will only last for 1 minute. Wang wonders why the system has switched to electronic mode, but the most important thing now is how to select a specific location. The system advises him to use WeChat radiation, which will allow him to see everything around him. When Wang uses his ability, he sees inside the surrounding houses, but this quickly drains his energy, causing him to faint. He wakes up in bed, realizing that he has been transported using the power cube. Upon seeing the cube beside him, he gets angry and asks where it came from. The cube tells him that it will always stay by his side and will disappear if he dies. Wang grabs the cube and realizes that he now has a superpower. When he tries searching for information about the system online, he finds nothing. Suddenly, he receives a message from Chao inviting him to have lunch together, which makes him very happy. He then asks the system how to make his superpower stronger. The system explains that it has a self-upgrading function. His abilities will continuously grow as long as he absorbs energy. However, to activate this function, he needs a Shi-2 stone, the most powerful material in this world. There are many of these stones along the roads, but a special yellow one is located in the landlord's house, and another is in his mother's ring. Wang hesitates, saying that those stones are very important to his parents. The system informs him that these stones are actually in his parents' garden, and if he wants to become powerful in this world, he must retrieve them. Determined, Wang sets out to get them. He uses WeChat radiation to pinpoint the exact location of the stones. He finds the yellow stone and senses that it contains immense energy. The system confirms that it is a Stage 1 stone, which can be used for upgrading. The stone glows, and Wang suddenly finds himself inside the cube. Placing the stone into its inner slot, a strange sensation sweeps through his body, and he feels a surge of power. The system explains that the stone has upgraded his DNA, allowing him to fight more effectively. The next morning, Wang wakes up and rushes to school, chatting with his friends. While they are talking, Sun Jun and his gang enter, searching for Wang. He hides behind a book to avoid being seen. The system tells him that he is now strong enough to fight them. As Sun Jun approaches, Yao steps in, demanding that he leave the school and stop bothering them. She asks him to leave Wang alone. However, Wang tells her to stay calm and let him handle it. Sun Jun gets angry, grabs Wang, and prepares to hit him, but Wang grabs his hands and warns him not to disturb him again or he will kill him. Sun Jun is shocked by Wang's strength and challenges him to a fight at the North City Basketball Club at 5 p.m. After school, Wang heads to the basketball club and asks for Sun Jun. The gang members mock him, calling him weak and cowardly, claiming that he ran away the night before. They assure him that Sun Jun will punish him. When Sun Jun arrives, he declares that Wang won't escape this time. The system then informs Wang that there are 13 opponents and his chance of victory is 20%. Sun Jun and his gang stand before Wang, who is alone. A fighter named Qiang steps forward to start the battle. Qiang attacks, but Wang skillfully dodges all his strikes, exhausting him. Taking advantage of the moment, Wang lands a powerful blow, knocking Qiang to the ground. Everyone is shocked by Wang's strength. The rest of the gang prepares to fight Wang together. They attack him one by one, and Wang does his best to counter them. He delivers a powerful kick to one gang member, sending him flying. He continues to fight, taking down multiple opponents. However, one of them manages to grab Wang, while another strikes him, knocking him to the ground, and gets up and fights back fiercely, grabbing one opponent by the legs, swinging him around and throwing him at Sun Jun, making them both fall to the ground. Sun Jun realizes that Wang's strength has surpassed that of normal humans. After defeating the entire gang, Wang walks toward Sun Jun. However, the system warns him that his physical energy has dropped significantly and he cannot continue fighting. Wang ignores the warning, determined to use this opportunity to prove that these lowly thugs are nothing. At that moment, a man named Hu Huan arrives with his gang. Mocking them, he says, "I thought the fighting power in North City was strong, but it turns out no one can defeat Sun Jun. I came here to laugh at him. He's weak like a girl and doesn't deserve to be called the leader of North City. As for the position of city leader A, it will be mine." Wang interrupts him, saying he's not interested in their rivalry, but Zhao should not be involved in this matter. Hu Huan scoffs. "Who are you? How dare you interrupt me, you fool?" He then orders his gang to attack Wang. Since Wang's physical energy is too low for combat, he runs away. Then, using his invisibility power, he vanishes in front of them. Suddenly, the electricity goes out and Wang appears behind Hu Huan, grabbing him by the neck and slamming him to the ground. He then fights the rest of the gang, defeating them all. Sun Jun is stunned by Wang's strength. At that moment, the club manager knocks on the door, demanding they open it immediately or he will call the police. They can't take over the gym. Meanwhile, Zhao stands beside the manager, pleading with him to save Wang, as the gang has him surrounded inside. As Sun Jun tries to escape, Wang stands in his way, telling him he'll let him live under one condition. Sun Jun must publicly claim that he was the one who defeated Huan's gang and admit his mistake in front of everyone. When the club manager enters the gym, he finds Sun Jun holding Wang by the neck, making it look like Sun Jun was the victor. As a result, Sun Jun confesses his mistake and Wang is seen as innocent. With this, Wang successfully protects Chao. Determined to become even stronger to protect his loved ones, Wang decides to synchronize with more power stones. He embarks on a journey to search for treasures. While the city has many valuable stones, most of them already have owners, and he can't steal them. Instead, he decides to go into the wilderness to find an unclaimed stone. He spends all his money buying adventure gear and heads into the forest to start digging. After hours of searching with no results, he grows frustrated. The system then contacts him, informing him that it has detected strong energy underground in a hidden cavern. However, Wang fails to teleport into the cavern. The system explains that if a space is completely sealed, teleportation is impossible. There must be at least a 1 cm gap. Wang begins searching for a small opening and eventually reaches a lake. Using his WeChat radiation, he finds the right spot and teleports in, but immediately slips and falls due to the slippery ground. He turns on his flashlight, searching for an entrance, but finds nothing. The temperature inside is at least 10 degrees lower than outside, and the place is very damp. The system tells him the stone is right in front of you. Wang then sees a large green stone and searches for a way inside. As he gets closer, a giant snake suddenly appears behind him, preparing to attack. Wang quickly vanishes, reappearing in different spots. The snake loses sight of him. Wang carefully moves forward while the snake unknowingly follows him. The system scans the area and detects 12 pieces of energy-reactive stones. Overjoyed, Wang realizes this will grant him immense power. He successfully collects the first stone, but when he grabs the second, it slips from his hands and falls into a lower area. Using WeChat radiation, he scans for it only to see the snake near the stone. Panic sets in. The snake lunges at him and both of them fall into the water. Wang grabs a shovel and strikes the snake, using his power to teleport into the power cube. The system then informs him 11 stones have been collected. Stones are classified into basic, intermediate, and advanced levels. Every 3 stones can be fused into a higher level stone. Basic stones only enhance primary abilities. Advanced stones can be embedded into different treasures, possibly unlocking unique properties. Wang declares, I want to collect an advanced level stone. The system warns him that it will take around 100 hours to gather the required stones. Wang must choose 9 stones for fusion. Based on past experience, fusing 2 specific stones will require fighting a white serpent. Determined, Wang fuses the stones, increasing his power significantly. He then returns to face the giant snake. With his newfound strength, Wang launches a series of powerful attacks, ultimately defeating the snake. He then dives into the lake and collects the remaining stones. Meanwhile, Sun Jun and Hugh Han meet, vowing to take revenge on Wang. And so our episode ends here. To watch more episodes, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to stay updated. We shift to Wang, who is on his way to meet Shin, and they started walking in the park. Shin said to Wang, I think you've changed a lot. A strange power is evident in you. Wang told Shin, I will protect you and won't expose you to any danger. Shin replied, I won't let you face problems alone. Wang said, we will face our future together. After that, they went to have fun and enjoy their day. Later, they sat at a table to have a drink. And Shin said to Wang, let's play a game. She hid a candy in one of her hands and asked Wang to guess which hand it was in. Wang used his powers, which are his senses, to determine the candy's location, and each time he picked the right hand, causing the candy to run out of the bag. Shin was astonished by Wang's accuracy every time. Wang told her it was an electric sense, but when Shin glared at him in anger because she didn't believe him, he said he was joking and explained that he could see her when she put the candy and that she should hide it behind her back. Shin said to Wang, you discovered all this? And added, I think you're still hiding something. Wang gave Shin the green stone and told her it was for her, which amazed Shin because of its beauty, and she asked where he found it. Wang replied, in the water. The next day, Wang was waiting for Shin, but time passed and she still hadn't come. He tried to call her, but she didn't answer. He then learned of an incident at her home and ran quickly to her house. He saw a lot of press, and also the police were there. He heard Shin's mother telling the police what happened, informing them about Shin's kidnapping. Wang then began to ask himself, who did this? He spotted Jun among the crowd and approached him. Wang stopped Jun and asked, why are you feeling tense? He asked again, do you want to tell me something? This made Jun nervous, and Wang used a show of his powers to frighten Jun. He warned him that he was in a bad mood and that he was looking for a fight. Jun felt very scared and said he would tell him everything. We move on to Mr. Lucar, who was punishing Hyung Lucha, told Hyung he hates lying and exploitation. But these things, when compared to getting rid of Shiko Bayon if it's just a one-time opportunity, he wanted to try it. Lucar believed that the punishment for lying should be harsh. Kyung tried to beg Lucar for mercy, crying, but Lucar told him to be quiet. If he wanted to live, he got ready to hit the ball with a bat. Then Lucar approached Shin and said to her, "Now you've seen the result of my anger, so when I ask you something, you must answer." He asked, "What's your relationship with Shiko?" Shin replied, "I don't know anyone by that name, Lucar." Then showed her his picture and warned her not to lie until she was rescued. Shin insisted, "Really? I don't know." Lucar grabbed her by the neck and told her, "If you want to regain your memories." He was about to strike her, but his assistant intervened, asking him to stop. The assistant told Lucar that he thought this girl knew a lot about Shiko and believed Shiko cared about her. Lucar argued that it was all nonsense and that he had bound her to use her as bait for him. The assistant insisted that Shiko cared for the girl and had not shown up yet because she was not just anyone, and that she might have important secrets. He suggested that if they could lure Shiko here, they would have a great chance of winning. Lucar replied that he had spent a lot of money to kill Shiko. The assistant pointed out that while those assassins were professionals, none of them knew Shiko's true strength, and reminded him that no one knew the difference between victory and defeat. He argued that if the girl died here, Shiko would be very angry and would explode with grief, so he recommended that they let her go because they couldn't do anything to her, and later threaten her into submission, and she would then tell them everything. Lucar agreed but instructed them to keep her mouth shut. The assistant covered Shin's mouth and told her that she would stay with them, asking her to talk because he couldn't save her next time. We shift to Wang, who is angry and asks June, "Is Shin being kidnapped because of Hong's punishment?" June explained, "That's what happened to deal with you." June asked Wang if he knew Lushar, to which Wang replied, "No." June explained that Lushar came from a big crime family and told him about a problem called the kneeling battle, which involved Lushar being beaten by the child of a powerful gangster. After that, the gangster came with his son and knelt before Lushar. Even as Lushar drove away in his car, the gangster and his son remained kneeling. Thus, they called this battle the Kneeling Battle, and the street was named Kneeling Gate. Wang was surprised and asked June about Shiko. He wondered why Luchar thought he could tempt Shiko by kidnapping Shin Junin. Reminded him, "Do you remember when Shin had the accident in high school? She was saved by a man." This was Shiko. Many people wanted to get to Shiko, but nobody could. And when he disappeared and resurfaced, he broke Lucar's finger because Lucar was seeking revenge. Then the Yan family abandoned Lucar, which made him angry. From that time on, Lucar vowed to get revenge on Shiko and began searching for him everywhere, leaving no clue behind. Wang remarked that he thought this was all just chatter, but June retorted that it might sound like that to Wang, but they were facts to them. He added that Luchar was angry without reason and that he would eventually be killed. Wang concluded that Luchar must be apprehended and believed the whole thing started with Yang as he lied to Luchar and told him that Shin had a connection with Shiko. June pointed out that Hung was hasty in his thinking and stated that he didn't trust him in this story, so he left him alone. However, Luchar was not their equal, and he thought Hung was punishing himself now. Wang stood up to leave, and June asked, "Where are you going?" Wang replied, "I'm going to rescue Shin." Yoon and Ger warned him, "I told you this is very dangerous, and dealing with Luchar won't be easy." Wang responded, "I'm not easy to deal with either," and asked him to call the police to atone for his mistakes. Wang made his way to Shin's location and asked the voice, "Are you sure Shin is here?" The voice confirmed, of course, and told him she was on the upper floor, revealing that he had tracked her down using the stone he had given Shin. We then shift to Luchar, who asked his assistant, "Do you think after all this planning, I will fail to catch Shiko?" The assistant told Luchar after allying with Mr. Shah, "If we don't catch Shiko, we won't let him escape safely." Luchar said to him, "You are very naive, because after all this effort, I won't let him go at all." Sean added, "I haven't cooperated with anyone and told them he was here for revenge as well," prompting Luchar to laugh. The assistant mentioned, "Mr. Sean talks like this all the time," and Sean noted that he had limits. Luchar, still laughing, replied that since he would get rid of Shiko, then everything he asked for would be his. The assistant thought to himself that Mr. Luchar was very arrogant and suspected this was all for revenge. We moved back to Wang, who started searching for Shin, and the voice informed him that it had detected 7 people nearby, causing Wang to feel angry. He asked the voice, "Is the high-level stones upload complete?" The voice replied, "It's only 3 minutes away from finishing." We cut to one of the guards informing Mr. Luchar about a strange person in the area. Luchar ordered the guards over walkie-talkie, "If you see him, kill him so he doesn't interrupt our work." Wang climbed up to the building and tried to break the door lock, but one of the guards told him, "Hey kid, you should leave here. You can't open that door because it's sealed with a spiritual force. If it reacts to you, your body will turn into openings of blood." A voice told Wang that the enemy's combat power was 52% and your power is 50%. Wang told the guard he wanted the key. The guard replied to Wang, "I think you're seeking your own death," and informed him that anyone who tries to enter the building would be killed immediately. Wang grabbed the guard and said, "You have to give me the key so I can save my friend." The guard replied to Wang, "Then feel free to enter." We moved to Lucia, who after entering the room with Shin said, "I'll turn on the TV for you so you won't feel bored," and opened the cameras on the TV. He asked her which floor this boy would reach back to Wang. Facing the guard threw a punch at Wang, but he dodged it and landed a hit on the guard, though it didn't affect him. They exchanged blows back and forth until Wang delivered a strong punch to the guard and quickly moved to deliver another hit, but he failed and was caught by the guard, who threw him to the ground. The guard tried to stomp on him, but Wang dodged the attack. Then the guard got closer and started throwing punches at Wang, but he managed to block and dodge them with his speed. Wang told himself he needed to find a weakness in the guard. He dodged the guard's attacks again and unleashed a powerful kick at the guard, causing him to crash into the wall. However, the guard didn't give up and attacked Wang once more, but Wang dodged again and delivered a punch to him with a hidden force, sending the guard crashing to the floor. Wang said, "I know this is against boxing, but we aren't in a real match." After that, Wang picked up the key for the door. He opened the door and continued to ascend, but a voice warned Wang to be cautious, making him dodge an attack thrown at him. However, he couldn't avoid the next blow, which sent him tumbling down the stairs. Another guard asked Wang, "How did you defeat Pablo?" Wang replied, "He almost killed me." The guard told Wang, "All right, I'll wait for you," and he climbed up, leaving Wang hanging. Wang climbed the stairs again, and the voice informed him that the guard's power was 75%, causing Wang to get angry as he said, "I'm going to take him down." Wang moved toward the guard and said, "Come out and fight me." The guard appeared behind him and thought, "I don't want to kill you, so I won't dirty my sword," then disappeared and reappeared, declaring, "I'll kill you for money." After that, the guard attacked Wang with several knife strikes, but Wang avoided all the blows, and when the guard threw the knife at Wang, he dodged it too. The guard made the knife change direction and return towards Wang, but he dodged it again, leaping into the air and striking the guard, but the guard disappeared again and thought to himself, "Do you really think you can defeat me?" He declared, "I'm the heir of the flying knives," recalling when his master threw him into a room filled with many dangerous blades during his training, where he discovered his hidden strength after that. He approached Wang, convinced that no one could defeat him, and launched a surprise attack on Wang from behind. Wang, however, delivered a strong slap that knocked the guard back. Then the guard quickly attacked Wang again, delivering punches that caused him to stagger when he got too close and nearly stabbed Wang from behind. Wang used his force to pull out a large bat and swung it at the guard, delivering a powerful blow that severely injured him. We switched to the other guards, where one said, "Chada fell too, just like Pablo." A female guard remarked, "I think this fighter is incredibly strong." Another guard responded, "He managed to take down 2 powered fighters, but if he meets Babeoff, I think he'll be defeated in 10 minutes. The female guard replied, "If that's the case, there's no need to worry. Let's collect the reward and go home." The guard told her, "But if the opposite happens," the female guard stated, "I think that would be fun, wouldn't it?" We returned to Wang facing Bevlov. Wang swung a strong punch at Bevlov, but Bev blocked it and grabbed Wang, delivering a hit that knocked him down. Bevlov said to Wang, "You move after receiving my punches, so I need to strengthen my upcoming hits for you." After that, he gripped Wang and choked him fiercely, declaring, "No one can escape from my choke." Wang revealed a knife in his hand and tried to stab Bevlov, but Bevlov blocked Wang's blade. Wang refused to give up and switched the knife to his other hand, managing to injure Bevlov just enough to escape his grip. After that, Wang landed a punch on Bev, but it didn't affect him. Wang was instead impacted by Bev's strength. Bevlov informed Wang, "This is the difference between us. You have weak tricks and I have absolute power." He launched a blow at Wang, but Wang dodged it, though it still caused destruction due to its power. Bev threw a large piece of wood at Wang, but it missed after that. Bev charged at Wang, throwing punches yet not connecting, and then delivered a kick that knocked Wang down. Wang tried to escape quickly, but he couldn't manage it. Bev grabbed him and threw him to the ground, attempting to stamp on him. Wang quickly evaded and stood up again, telling Bevlov, I'm going to save Shin no matter the cost. He threw a punch at Bevlov, but Bev blocked it. Then Bevlov broke Wang's arm and landed several punches following that. He slammed Wang against the wall and dealt a powerful strike that knocked him to the ground. The voice told Wang that the force of the stones had been completed and his power level had increased, showing the signs of strength. Wang stood back up and said to Bev, "Thank you for letting me release my muscles." Bev replied to Wang, "Real fighting requires a strong man." Wang responded, "You talk too much and I'm going to make you silent." He told Bev it was his turn for the hits. Bevel attacked Wang, but Wang landed multiple strong punches, yet suddenly he coughed blood from his mouth, saying, "I think the energy is going to explode from inside me." The voice informed Wang that the system was helping him expel toxins from his body and reassured him that was normal. Bev said, "You're talking before I recover from my hits." Feeling enraged and attempted to deliver another blow, but Wang blocked it. Wang delivered a powerful strike to Bevelov, pushing him back while Bevelov pondered where Wang got that strength. Wang attacked and landed powerful punches that ultimately defeated Bevelov. We switched to Lucia's room, where Lucia was very angry about Wang defeating his fighters. He stated that these fighters were worthless and couldn't deal with an ordinary person. Lucia's assistant mentioned he thought Wang would be defeated by the next warrior. Lucia asked, "Are you sure about that?" The assistant confidently replied, "Of course, if Bevel." The witch Meg discovers on her 17th birthday that she has only 1 year left to live. The only way to break the curse is to leave her safe life behind and embark on adventures to collect tears of joy and plant the seed of life. Throughout this journey, she will face many challenges. Our story begins with a girl named Meg and her small pet, which resembles a dog but is actually a different kind of animal. We also see some other animals with her as she prepares a special formula using her supernatural powers. She uses her power directly, and we see the substance respond automatically, emitting a glowing light. After successfully completing the experiment, Meg steps out and enters a room where an elderly woman is waiting. We do not yet know who this woman is. She could be Meg's superior. The woman prepares tea for her, and then Meg goes on to prepare food for both her domestic and wild animals. After everyone eats, the elderly woman calls Meg again and tells her, "Meg, you will die in a year." Meg looks at her in shock and replies, "No one knows the unseen except God, so you cannot predict anything." Today is Meg's 17th birthday, and the woman explains that she is not simply making a prediction. Meg is cursed. She tells Meg that she has been sentenced to death on her next birthday. The curse has already been activated. It is an ancient curse unknown to modern witches. The old woman then shows Meg a vision of the possible future. Meg will suddenly fall ill, rapidly age, and become an old woman after turning 18. That she will age at a rate 1,000 times faster than normal. 10 years will pass in just 3 days. After a month, she will be 100 years old, and then the curse will kill her. Meg is horrified and begs for a way to break the curse. "Save me, madam. I know that we all will die one day, but please save me from this curse." The elderly woman sadly informs her that there is no way to cure her at the moment. However, she explains that Meg is afflicted by a rare disease rather than a simple curse. Unfortunately, there is no known cure. The woman then enchants a glass bottle and hands it to Meg, saying, "From today onward, you must collect shards of emotions in this bottle." In other words, you need to gather the strong emotions that people experience. There is something called the seed of life, which is created from joy. Among all human emotions, joy, anger, sadness, and pleasure, joy, is the most essential. You must collect joyful emotions from different people. The tears shed by people when they are truly happy, tears of joy, are the key ingredient needed to create the seed of life. This is the only cure for your illness, the only way to prevent your death on your next birthday. Meg asks, "How many tears must I collect to obtain the seed?" The woman answers, "You need to collect 1,000 tears within 12 months from people who experience genuine happiness." This task is nearly impossible. Meg becomes frustrated and storms outside, overwhelmed with sadness. "I will fall ill in a year and could actually die. What should I do?" Just then, a girl approaches her and asks, "Are you the apprentice of Madame Faust?" Meg replies, "Yes." The girl introduces herself as Anna and explains that she has come to request flowers from Madame Faust for her mother, hoping they will bring her comfort. Anna reveals that her mother has been hospitalized for a long time, but she has finally been allowed to return home. However, she remains in a deep sleep. Anna's father told her that her mother is merely resting after working hard for so long. Anna wants to give her fragrant flowers to help her relax. Hearing this, Meg recalls losing her own parents, or rather, she doesn't remember anything about them. Madame Faust had taken her in and provided her with full care. Meg tells Anna, "I will personally deliver the flowers to your mother and fulfill your wish." Together, they set out in search of the beautiful pink flowers that Anna's mother had always wanted. As they walk, many people recognize Meg as the girl who serves Madame Faust. Faust is widely known, one of the 7 sages. However, Meg suddenly remembers her impending death, and her mood darkens. Later, they arrive at Anna's home, where they meet Anna's father, Hennedy. Hennedy is a frequent customer of Madame Faust, regularly purchasing medicine from her. Meg often delivers the medicine to him. Hennedy prepares tea for them, and as Meg looks around, she notices that he has an impressive collection of rare herbs. He explains that his late wife used to collect them as a hobby, though he doesn't know their use. It becomes clear that Anna's mother has passed away and that Anna wants flowers to place on her grave. Hennedy reminisces about the past, remembering the wonderful moments he shared with his wife. But time spares no one. Everyone eventually leaves this world. Meg serves them her special tea, secretly adding one of her secret mixtures. Afterward, they visit Anna's mother's grave and recite prayers for her. Anna then asks, "Do you think that witch can bring my mother back to life?" Meg responds, "That is impossible. The one who created her and took her soul is the only one who can return her to life, but that will happen in the afterlife. Only God has the power to bring the dead back." Anna's father remains silent, staring at his late wife's picture with deep sorrow in his eyes. At that moment, Hennedy arrives and says, "I postponed some of my work to come here. Have you discovered anything about the flower?" Meg tells him there is a very beautiful flower that might be the one you're looking for. It's called the cherry blossom tree in the Far East. It's a type of cherry blossom that blooms at the beginning of spring. She then turns to Anna and says, "Your mother rests in peace as long as she was happy in her past life. These are matters of the unseen that I do not know, but you should pray for her every day." Hearing this, Anna's father begins to cry, and Anna also sheds tears. He embraces his daughter, telling her that he will always be with her, and that as long as he is alive, he will never let her feel alone. At that moment, 2 drops of tears of joy, are collected. At the end of the day, Anna thanks Meg for everything she has done for her. When Meg finally returns home, Madame Faust asks her about her day. Meg tells her that she collected 2 tears. Upon inspecting them, Madame Faust informs her, "These are not the tears you need. They are a mixture of sorrow and joy. These are not pure tears of happiness." She then warns Meg, "You are the one who will face your fate. You can either give up and wait for death, which is inevitable, or you can travel the world searching for and collecting true tears of joy. You must remain optimistic." Determined, Meg decides to gather the 1,000 tears. What adventures await Meg in her endless journey? Stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates. A week had passed since Meg learned about her impending death. She began to wonder how quickly she could collect the tears she needed in the time she had left. That's when the Owl Shiro wrote to her, advising her to collect 3 joyful tears a day. But Meg found that nearly impossible. She cried out in frustration. Just then, Fenny walked in and asked, "Why are you screaming like that?" Meg started crying and asked for her help. She told Fenny the whole story. Fenny asked, "Can't Faust heal you?" Meg shook her head. "It's a congenital illness. Faust can't cure it. The only way to heal is by filling this bottle with joyful tears." "But that's so hard. I've only collected 2 in a whole week, and they weren't even happy tears." Then Meg looked at her and asked, "Why are you here anyway?" Fenny told her she came to see Faust. Later, we see Meg and Fenny together in Faust's room. Fenny hands her an old clock and says, "Can you fix this for me? Even the clockmaker couldn't do it." Faust takes one look and says, "The spirit of the clock has weakened." Seeing their confusion, she explains, "Everything, living or not, gets a fairy inside once it finds its purpose. That fairy is its driving force. But the spirit in this clock, it's gone. It can't be repaired. Still, there's a tiny glimmer of hope. You should take it to Mr. Geppetto's shop." So the 2 girls head to Mr. Geppetto's. When he sees the clock, he tells them it's an old German military-style piece, crafted with precision and care. But whether he can fix it or not, he's not sure. He needs time to examine it properly. Meg suggests Fenny buy a new clock. They have plenty of elegant, cheap ones around, but Fenny refuses. She's deeply attached to her clock. She tells Meg how sad she feels about it, and then suddenly breaks down crying. "How are you this calm, knowing you're going to die?" she asks. Meg gently tries to calm her. "It's just how you are, Fenny. You've always been like this." She remembers their first meeting in school, Meg lying on the floor after being beaten up by the other girls, and Fenny coming over crying, saying she felt so sorry for her. That's how their friendship began. Back in the present, Meg tells her not to be sad, to smile. "I don't plan on dying and leaving you all alone." Just then, Mr. Bishopio returns. "I'm sorry, I couldn't fix the clock. It's reached the end of its life." Fenny understands. She says, the clock will stay with her anyway. It's a precious memory of her late grandfather, and she was very attached to it. Outside the shop, Meg draws a small memorial on the ground, a thank you to the items that served faithfully over the years. Then she places the clock in the center of a magical circle, starts chanting, and uses her A green crystal rises from the clock, lifting into the sky and scattering into tiny shards of light. Meg smiles and tells Fenny, that's a sign. It means your grandfather's spirit knows the clock has been honored. Fenny bursts into tears and thanks Meg deeply. They sit together and talk. Fenny tells her that when Meg used magic on the clock, a flood of memories with her grandfather came rushing back. Later, we see Meg walking home, and she's collected one more joyful tear. Along the way, she sees Granny Flair carrying a shopping bag. Meg takes it from her and walks her home. Granny Flair thanks her and invites her to visit again sometime, but as Meg walks away and Granny enters her home, Meg sees something that freezes her in place. An eerie shadow hovering around the old woman, like a ghost. She remembers the past, walking with Faust and seeing a man surrounded by that same dark shadow, and how that man died soon after. That's when she realizes the truth. That black mist, that's the sign of death closing in, and that shadow, it's called the Reaper. We return to the present where Meg is having lunch with Faust. Meg asks, isn't there any way to save someone who's surrounded by a Reaper? Faust replies firmly, that's forbidden. Tampering with fate is strictly prohibited. Meg, however, suggests using the seeds of life, but before she can finish, Faust cuts her off and ends the conversation. Frustrated, Meg stands up. Why won't you talk about it? I want to save people. And I'm going to be surrounded by a Reaper soon, too. I'm going to die. But I won't abandon those I can still save. She storms out of the room. Later, Meg visits Grandma Fleur and tells her she left home and wants to stay over. Grandma warmly welcomes her and offers her some food. Then she says with a soft laugh, fighting with Faust, huh? That's how people grow closer. I used to argue with my husband all the time, even though I loved him dearly. Meg asks if she can stay for a while, and Grandma Fleur happily agrees. That night, as everyone sleeps, Meg tells Grandma Fleur, this bed smells like flowers. Grandma smiles. I tend the garden so much, maybe the scent just followed me here. Meg hesitates, then asks, how long has it been since your son moved away? Have you seen him recently? Grandma replies that she rarely sees him anymore. He's busy with work. After a short silence, Grandma notices Meg isn't asleep. What's troubling you, dear? She asks. Meg tries to play it off. It's nothing. I'm fine. But Grandma gently reassures her. I'm always here if you need someone to talk to. Just remember to keep smiling, all right? Meg, now alone with her thoughts, quietly vows to herself, I have to find a way to save Grandma Fleur. 3 days pass since Meg moved in. She spends every spare moment researching in the spell books from the library, looking for a way to stop the Reaper, but no matter how hard she tries, she finds nothing, and day by day, the Reaper's shadow around Grandma Fleur grows darker and stronger. One day, Meg and Grandma Fleur go to a large old tree. This tree holds so many memories, Grandma says. My childhood, my family. I've always taken care of it, but when Meg places her hands on the tree, she senses something off. Its magical energy is fading. The tree will die soon, just like Grandma Fleur. Meg then asks quietly, if tomorrow were the end of the world, what would you want to do before it ends? Grandma smiles. I'd want to spend the day with my family. That night, Meg and her owl, Shiro, sneak out of the house. Using her magic, she and Shiro fly far away to gather Grandma Fleur's family. The next morning, as Grandma looks for Meg, she finds her, and behind her, her whole family. They laugh, play, and spend time together full of love and joy. Grandma turns to Meg, eyes full of tears. Thank you. I've met many witches in my life, but you're the only one who's ever stood by me like this. I love you so much. But the shadow around her deepens. And finally, Grandma Fleur passes away. Meg cries until Faust appears. She's at peace now, Faust says softly. She spent her last days surrounded by the people she loved. And that's all thanks to you, Meg. Then Faust looks at her and adds, you must not die, Meg, because you know when people's time is near, you have to live. Long enough to help them, to bring them happiness in their final days. And that's where today's episode ends. If you want to see more, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss a single moment. Nico returns to the city after 6 years of magic training and chooses her friend Morihito as her familiar. Later, she discovers that he's an ogre. As events unfold, a disaster befalls Nico, and Morihito decides to protect her with all his strength. Our story begins with two families parting ways, with a boy and a girl standing together. The girl is saying goodbye to the boy, but he looks sad. She reaches out her hands to him, thanking him while crying because he always protected her. She tells him that once she leaves, she will do everything she can to become a powerful sorceress, promising they will meet again. He nods in response and shakes her hand. Next, we jump ahead to when they are older. A few delinquent kids are calling out to Morihito. Now, grown up, one of them tells him that what he did a few days ago won't be forgotten. Easily, Morihito asks them who they even are, which makes them angry, and they introduce themselves. One of them, named Mamoda, reminds him that a few days ago they were bullying a student when Morihito came to rescue him, and while doing so, he was bullying them back, which really annoyed them. They start to attack him, but Morihito easily dodges their blows, appearing stronger than them and not wanting to hit them back. However, in the end, Mamoto manages to hit him later. We find Morito at home, where his father asks him why he let them hit him when he could have easily defeated them. Moto explains that Mamoto was someone he let hit him in the past when he was younger. He injured him badly. His father points out that this is no excuse, as that was in the past, and they taught him how to control his strength. Morito argues that if he hadn't allowed Mamoto to hit him, he wouldn't have gotten rid of them, and he believes that what he did was the safest option. While they are eating, his father asks if he remembers the little witch girl he said goodbye to a long time ago. Morio is shocked and recalls his memories with her, which were filled with injuries. He remembers her coming to the 4th grade and saying she would go to witch school to learn magic. His father informs him that she finished that training and plans to return, and she also decided that he would be her guardian. Morito is shocked again and accidentally spills his food on his father, who understands his surprise, as guardians of witches are typically animals. However, in the past, those animals managed to absorb magical energy from witches and take human forms, eventually marrying real humans and giving birth to a new lineage called the lineage of the Wraiths. It turns out that Morito and his father belong to this lineage, which is why they have an agreement with the witches that their lineage will serve as guardians. Thus, they must uphold this pact. Morito, however, snaps, telling his father that he doesn't want to be associated with anyone, making it clear that this isn't a good situation for him. His father insists that they have a covenant and he must abide by it. Morito gets angry and suggests his father be her personal guardian. Instead, his father explains he would have done that, but unfortunately has a very important work trip and is leaving tomorrow. Morito calms down and continues eating, as his father finishes the story, stating that Nico will be staying in the City of Witches for personal reasons, meaning he and Nico will be living together here alone. Morito is even more shocked and spills his food on his father again, who accuses him of doing it on purpose. Morito reflects on the matter. Next, we switch to Nico, who is returning to the city feeling really happy and hoping Morito is doing well. We go back to Morito, who is sitting in his room reminiscing about memories with Nico when she couldn't even pronounce his name, calling him Moi. Instead, he thinks to himself about how much she has matured. Suddenly, Nico breaks a window in his room and falls in front of him. Morito is shocked, thinking she is a thief, but she apologizes, saying that she lost her balance and fell in when she gets up. She introduces herself as Moi, and Morito is shocked by how she looks, with her telling him she kept her promise, and they met again. They share a nice moment, but Moi interrupts, saying they need to clean the room right now. While cleaning, he mentions that he can't believe she made such a problem right from her arrival and broke. The glass Nico becomes very embarrassed and tries to help him, but he insists she should just rest, giving her some cookies to eat as she eats. She looks at Moi, noting that he has grown into a handsome young man, but he is still as straightforward as before. She begins to imagine things in her head, and Moi interrupts her thoughts, saying he knows everything happened suddenly, but he is sure they can manage their problems. She apologizes for everything happening so suddenly, explaining her mom chose everything for her, and he reassures her that it's not a big deal since they have a pact they must adhere to. The important thing now is to clear the glass. She tells him she can fix it with her magic, and when he asks if she's serious, she replies that of course, he doesn't know she's a witch. She explains that to use the spell for fixing the glass, she needs a medium. He asks what a medium is, and she suggests he finds something precious to him. He shows her his favorite cup, and she thinks it's perfect to use. She takes it and starts performing the spell. Moi is in shock as Nico manages to fix the glass, but suddenly he hears something break. When he looks next to him, he is shocked to see his cup smashed. Nico then explains that to fix something broken, the medium used must be tied to strong emotions belonging to the owner Moi gets angry, saying she should have told him this from the start because that cup meant a lot to him. Nigo apologizes, admitting she should have used something of hers instead, still depending on him like they did when they were kids. However, he tells her she has changed. The important thing is that the window is fixed, regardless of the fact that his cup is broken. The magic is amazing, then he tells her at first he didn't recognize her, which makes her very happy, and she says she can show him many other spells if he wants. However, he declines, and she insists, wanting to show him a new spell that turns anything into a flat paper. He tells her he doesn't want to see any more spells after breaking his cup. She says it will eventually return to its original state. She then decides to perform the spell on herself, which she indeed does, leaving Moi in shock. Nico, unable to control herself, finds everything around her wavy and accidentally flies out the window. Moi was shocked by what happened and said that Nico was still being reckless, as usual. He tried to catch up with her, but couldn't grab her more than once until she got stuck in a narrow corridor. Moi couldn't get her out, so he asked her to wait until he fetched a broom to pull her out. She told him that the spell's duration was about to end, and if she didn't get out of that corridor, she would really become a flat woman. Suddenly, Momota appeared and asked Moi what he was doing in front of his house, wondering if Moi came to get revenge on him, but Moi said, "Seriously, I urgently need a vacuum cleaner. This situation is extremely dangerous." Momota reacted coldly and asked if Moi wanted to fight or what Moi remembered when they were kids, how Momota punched him and broke his arm. Then Momota and his friends came and beat Moi hard in front of Nico, who had no reaction. Despite having the strength to fight back afterwards, his dad told him that he acted correctly. Moi asked his dad why they had the strength of ghouls anyway, saying it was bad. His dad explained that he could get training to control his power, emphasizing that strength is important because it makes its owner strong-hearted. After that, we see that Moi was furious and used his power. Momota felt scared and thought Moi was going to kill him, but at the last moment, Moi used his power to break the wall and managed to pull Nico out safely. Nico returned to her normal self at just the right moment. Momota was stunned to see Nikigo again, and she greeted him by saying, "Hello, grassfish." Momoto got angry and said they had to fix his wall now or he wouldn't spare them. Moi asked Nico if she could fix the wall, and she said she could, but needed something valuable from its owner. At that point, Moi decided to use Momoto's hair for the spell, and indeed the wall was fixed, leaving Momoto bald and confused about what happened. Moi and Nico then left, and Nico apologized to Moi for what happened, asking if it was a mistake to use Momot's hair. Moi reassured her that they were now even. She agreed, and Moi continued, saying everything ended well, and now they needed to go home. Suddenly, Nico stopped and said she wanted a favor, it turned out. She wanted to buy clothes and ended up buying a lot, making Moi wonder about the amount as he carried it, feeling like his arm was going to break. She joked that he shouldn't say that because he's a strong ghoul. Then she said she would cast a spell to help him, and the spell made things really light. When Moi tried to carry the items after Nikiko's spell ended, he was shocked by their lightness and told Nico that her magic was incredible and very useful, which made her extremely happy. She started walking, and Moi thought about whether she was really ready to let the whole town know she was a witch, because that would attract attention and put her life at risk. Nico retorted, asking what he wanted her to do. Stay locked in the house. Moi said that would be good and would reduce the risks. She replied that she understood his thinking, but pointed out that there was a rule among witches that they had to help people, and also that spells from novice witches like her were unstable, so interacting with people would help stabilize her skills. Staying alone would only make her sink into dark magic. He told her it was better for her to interact with people while using magic, and she agreed, knowing it would be hard for him, but it was like completing her training so she could become a powerful witch capable of helping others. Moi smiled, thinking that Nico's dream was wonderful, and he had to help her achieve it. He said, "Okay, I'll be your guardian, and I'll help you with whatever you need." Nico was stunned by his reaction and began to think about how to act if they started dating. Meanwhile, a fire broke out in one of the towers, and there was a woman calling for help. Nico decided to assist her, but Moi tried to stop her, saying it would be dangerous, especially with so many people around. Nico reminded him that she had previously told him that she would use her magic to help others, and pulled out her flying broom. Moi decided to help her and told her to fly on the broom while he rescued the woman. They began to execute their plan. Amidst the crowd shock, Moi asked the woman to throw things to them, and when she did, they almost fell to the ground due to the load's weight. Nico used her lightness spell to make Moi lighter, and they saved the situation at the last moment, but it seemed the spell also affected Moi's mind, causing him to say strange things, and that's when the realization hit that the lightness spell makes people cheerful, the woman was. Shocked by what was happening, asking how they were flying like that as if it were normal, they began explaining it to her, but while they were flying, the lightness spell started to wear off and they were about to fall again. However, they managed to land safely and were celebrating their descent as the woman thanked them for saving her life. Then Nico remembered they had left the belongings and decided to go back to get them. They said goodbye to the woman and left while she was astonished by what had occurred. After that, we switched to Moi and Nico, who had returned home and were exhausted from carrying the heavy items, which felt heavier than usual. When Nico read the spell book, she discovered that it had side effects from the lightness spell, which affected both Moi and Nico, causing them to collapse to the ground. Later, Moi and Nico were grumbling in frustration because they hadn't expected their day to turn out like this. With all these incidents happening, eventually they got ready for bed, and Nico said to Moi that their new life would officially begin tomorrow, hoping he would take good care of her during this period. He told her not to say such weird things and to go sleep in her room. Nico replied, okay, and before heading to her room, she thanked him for what he did that day, saying it was amazing that he could control his power now, implying he must have gone through tough training. He confirmed that then. He started remembering what his dad said about a disaster happening to Nico within a year. Moi was shocked by this, and his father explained he knew due to Nico's father being a seer who could see the future, but they didn't have details about what exactly would happen. When Moi tried to figure out a solution for the disaster, he realized that Nico needed a guardian to survive. Moi pondered how to save Nico from what was coming, while she looked at him with affection. Our story in Season 2 begins with Katie talking to Jaff. Jaff was cursed with a burden no one could endure, but unfortunately he tries everything he can to deal with the curse, all in vain. Katie tells him that in his current state, he's a very dangerous person and could die at any moment. But Jaff replies that he doesn't care about anything, he just wants to fight until the end. Then he leaves. The scene then shifts to Belle, who wakes up and says, "Where am I? What is this place? What am I doing here?" She takes her sword and gets up, then sees someone outside the door. Turns out to be Bennett, who came to check on her, but Belle imagines something else and uses her powers, slamming the door shut and almost killing whoever was outside. The person then transforms into a girl and tells her that he's her friend. After Belle regains her consciousness, he comes in, sits with her, cleans the messy place, and even makes her tea. Belle starts talking to him about Adonis. She liked him when he was strong, but when he was weak, it made her nervous. She tells him that when Adonis asked her to go out with him and fulfill her wish, she wanted to run away and tried to sacrifice him for that. She knew if they went on a journey together, it would have been very difficult and might have ended with her dominating and killing him. He was seeking help, while she was very cruel. Why am I like this, full of spite and hatred? I killed him. How long will I remain alone? Then she cries heavily, unable to do anything. She says she wants to become a great traveler, but that would only lead to more loneliness, being by herself. Bennett tells her it's not her fault. She did everything she could, even the impossible, to become a great traveler. Though she hasn't achieved that yet, she shouldn't give up. She must keep fighting to reach her goal, and she definitely will. He tries to comfort her until night falls. At night, Belle begins performing certain rituals, but she notices something. Her eyes seem cursed with a powerful curse. She says, "Let's begin now. I think time is running out." She continues with the ritual and starts singing. In the end, the spirit returns to the depths of the ocean and never sees Belle again. She bids her farewell and leaves. Later, we see Belle walking through the forest and meeting Bennett, who has transformed into a man. This happened after a long time. Bennett sacrificed his feminine identity to save Belle from what she was going through. Thankfully, she had improved a lot. Then Bennett says that the hearing of mermaids is excellent, and that he wasn't any different than before. He tells her that he's grateful to her. At that moment, Gwyn passes by them and Belle greets him. He tells her that his head still hurts. They ask where he's heading, and he replies that he's going to rest his head until the funeral. From his words, Belle understands that he also received the news from the Raven. They let him go on his way and continue on theirs, eventually arriving at their destination where they meet Mist. She welcomes them, surprised to see them there. Gwyn tells her that he owes the late Great Commander a lot. Mist then takes them aboard a ship to reach the fortress of Clan Collins. On their way, Mist talks to Belle to check on her and her wounds. She tells her that 10 of their men left the battle with broken swords, but she was very impressed with Belle's performance during the fight. Belle replies that when she cut down Tiziano, she thought that was the end of it. She didn't know they had continued fighting afterward. Mist asks her if she had known they would keep fighting, would she have joined them? Belle answers that she doesn't belong to either side, neither good nor evil. She doesn't know what she can cut or what she can't kill until she tries. That's why she considers that she'll keep fighting to cut what must be cut. Then Mist asks if she's heard about the curses of those travelers. Belle replies that Gwyn told her because he used to visit Mr. Jinbuk regularly. Then Mist asks her about Adonis and why he isn't with her. She had heard they promised each other to go on a journey together. Belle answers that he disappeared and she doesn't know where he is. Even if she wanted to talk to him, he's probably hiding because he knows she would tear him to pieces. After that, they finally arrive at the fortress. Belle finds it massive, looking almost like a watchtower. Then everyone enters the castle. Then Gwyn replies, yes, this is one of the Collins clan's castles. I've waited for this for a long time. They go outside and Belle sees the place. She recalls something and says, it looks like the Aerial Path Cemetery. After that, they meet Kanyel. He tells them, I will be presiding over this funeral. Belle asks him, if you're from the Collins clan, are you from the catacombs? He replies, yes, I welcome you as the chief monk and guardian of Taurus. He explains that this place is one of the 4 fixed palaces of the catacombs, and that Aeon, the place they defended, is one of them. He thanks Belle for what she did in the battle on behalf of the Collins clan. Belle responds, we fought for our lives too as people on the side of the Lords. Kanyel tells her, your battle bridged the gap between the Lord and the weak. You embodied our highest ideal. Gwyn speaks, saying he's happy to have seen him. Kanyel replies, you're Gwyn. Jin told me a lot about you when he was alive. Gwyn then tells him, as the one responsible for burning the catacombs in that battle, I was eager to meet you. I sent many messages to your clan through Master Jin. Kanyel responds, yes, your message reached us, and I read it with great interest. Now, everyone prepare yourselves. I will now perform the final rites. It is time once again to ask the dead for news. Time for another of our siblings to sleep in this sacred land, bathed in the radiance of the holy earth. When will the raven flowers bloom? When will the pride of this land take root in your corpse and blossom? I too claim kinship with a brother who perished in that battle. Then we see Gwen speaking to the dead. We burned the flower gardens of the catacombs so we could survive. Do you expect me to believe that burying you here means we are forgiven? I've come to you once again for a new script. A new path for the people from now on, a shift toward paradise in the land of Shuert. And that's how today's episode of this anime ends. Stay tuned for the upcoming episodes. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss anything new. A girl dies and gets transported to another world full of monsters and slimes, where she gains an incredible power that lets her defeat them in an instant. Our story begins with a girl named Asuza Aizawa, a 27-year-old woman who worked at a company and put everything else, love, fun, and joy aside, dedicating her entire life to work. Her boss constantly yelled at her and overloaded her with tasks. Eventually, the pressure became too much, and she passed away from overwork. But that wasn't the end. Azusa was reborn in another world as an immortal witch, one who looked like a 17-year-old forever. She chose a peaceful, slow-paced life in a small house up in the highlands. All she did for 300 years was hunt slimes. Without even realizing it, she reached the maximum level. After living alone for centuries, she started to meet wonderful new companions, one after another. Laika, Falfa, Shalkra, Flatorte, and Rosalie. Before she knew it, she had a family. Now, all the girls live together in the same house. One early morning, they all wake up to start their day. Some prepare breakfast, while others set the table. When breakfast is ready, they all sit down to eat. Azusa compliments the bread, saying it tastes amazing. Laika replies that she found some good cheese and toasted it on the bread, then recommends adding a drizzle of honey. When they follow her advice, the girls are amazed by how delicious it is. Azusa then comments on how nice the weather is and says she wants to go out for a walk. She's planning a long trip to the southern forest and asks Laika to come along. Laika agrees, and then Halkara asks to join them too, saying there are some amazing mushrooms in that forest. Rosalie is surprised they're going so far, but Azusa says she wants to gather medicinal herbs. So Azusa, Laika, and Halkara head to the forest. There they discover a mysterious plant, rice. They don't recognize it at first, but are fascinated by it. Azusa is overjoyed to have found rice in this world. As they explore further, they also find red beans and buy a bunch of them. They return home to cook, and Azusa decides to make something sweet for Falfa and Shalsha. She plans to use the red beans to make Anko sweet bean paste. When Azusa asks about Falfa and Shalsha, Halkara tells her they're napping, along with Flatorte. The girls start preparing the Anko, but their first attempt fails. They try again and fail once more. Azusa gives it one last shot, and this time, it works. She calls Falfa and Shalsha to come taste the treat, and when they try it, they love it. Azusa is thrilled. Laika tries it too and says the sweet bean filling inside the soft dough makes it super tasty. Everyone keeps eating happily. Later, the girls head out to the market to sell their sweet snacks. Falfa starts calling out to attract customers to come try them. Lots of people come to sample the sweets and they love them, so they start buying boxes. Azusa is overjoyed, and the girls are thrilled their treats are selling so well. The customers are happy too. After all, the Highland Witch is known for her amazing food and drinks. After selling out, they go home and celebrate their success. They never expected things to go so well. Halkara then suggests they try something new, stamp cards. They give a stamp to every customer who buys something to encourage them to come again. It's a popular idea. Falfa and Shalsha recognize the stamp card idea from Governor Mega, the most popular rising leader right now. It's said that hearing her words brings blessings like physical healing, passing college exams, or even finding lost socks. People are obsessed with her and dream of meeting her. It turns out Mega is holding an event in the capital, though it's really far away. Shalsha says, "I want to go there." After that, we head to the regional capital, Vitamini. Azusa comments, "None of the others came with us. They're just not interested in what we're doing and chose to stay home." I think Shalsha's the only one who's excited. Shalsha beams and says she's never felt her heart soar like this before. "I'm really, really happy. I want to express my gratitude for today." Then Azusa turns to Shalsha and asks her about the rulers of this world. Shalsha replies, "About 1,500 years ago, there were two groups of scholars. One believed the rulers were just a concept, and the other believed they actually existed. This led to a formal investigation, but once the rulers appeared before everyone, that debate ended real fast." Shalsha continues, "The most outstanding of them all is Mega." The scene shifts to the event location. Azusa remarks, "This feels like a dinner show starring a legendary diva." The party starts and Mega steps onto the stage. Mega finally appears, greeting everyone warmly. "So, did you all gather lots of virtue today?" Azusa instantly recognizes her, and Mega lights up with joy when she sees Azusa. Then a girl asks Mega, "Why did you decide to descend to this world?" Mega replies, "There's a hierarchy among the supreme rulers of the multiple worlds. I fulfilled my role in unifying them, but I wanted to personally see the smiles of people living in each world, so I came down here of my own free will." She adds, "When you feel like you've done something good or gathered virtue, draw a circle on this card. You can also receive circles from others. You'll be given another card and can collect even more seals. Gathering virtue is a mission that should never end." The concert ends, and Mega says her goodbyes. Afterwards, Azusa goes to meet Mega. She's nervous and wonders, why does she want to talk to me? Her mind races. Is she going to send me to another world because I've been here too long? Or will I stop being immortal? But my family's here. I love them too much to leave. She approaches Mega trembling. Then she suddenly bursts out, "I want to keep living in this world forever." Mega smiles and replies, "Why not? Live for 3,000 years, or even 30,000, or for your whole life, if that's what you want." Later, we see Shalsha and the girls riding on the dragon, and Azusa thanks them for their help. Halkara then asks what Azusa talked about with Mega. Azusa says, "I just told her about my life and where I live, nothing super important." Shalsha laughs and says, "Even rulers are curious about everyday life and normal conversations." Azusa remembers part of her chat with Mega. Mega had said, "I tend to side with women, honestly. Making everyone forever 17-year-old girls caused more trouble than expected, so I got demoted to a local manager. That's what we call a fall from grace." Then Mega adds with a wink, "I'll give you 2 extra virtue circles, 1 for coming here and 1 for keeping my secret." The next scene takes us to a cozy room where Shalsha thanks her mom. "Today was amazing. Meeting Mega was a dream come true." Falfa chimes in, "The slime dishes were so good." Halkara enters announcing she's created a new field of specialty for Flatort. Then Rosalie says dramatically, "I'll be grateful even in death. I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. I'll give you a circle." Laika asks, "So what virtue did Azusa get?" Flatorte replies, "Just the fact that she's my mentor is a virtue in itself." Everyone adds a circle to the virtue card and thanks Azusa for always supporting them. Azusa smiles and says, "We can all live a peaceful and happy life in this house, and I promise I'll return the favor to each of you as well. Let's keep stamping those virtue cards together." Then Halcor speaks, "It's been 300 years since you brought me back to life in this world. I do things sometimes that aren't exactly witch-like, but if there's one thing I know for sure, it's this. I'm the happiest witch that's ever lived because I have the best family." And that's how today's episode ends. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss the next one.